So we do have a lot of moms that do cross the border that we do see. So we do all kinds of interstate kinds of things with Idaho. Our education, et cetera, goes both ways. So disclosure statement, I really want to thank Mary for supporting us this morning and Mead Johnson. And I have an independent control over all these slides. So Mead Johnson never tells me what to say. First thing that we're going to do is uncover some implicit bias that we may have so that we can improve our own personal awareness that can reduce the external stigma that moms with a substance use disorder may have because of us. And then the physical attributes that can decrease stress and allow for openness by the moms so that they're more likely to answer our questions or how we speak with them. And then for the screening tools that we can use to assess drug and alcohol use in pregnancy. So these are composites of moms that I've taken care of. These are also the documentation that was in the chart. And it really gives a really good picture from the mom's perspective, especially if we put anything in quotes. So this was, she was by the baby's bedside when she made these statements. How the nurse made her observation, especially the key one, pupils dilated in a well-lit room, was absolutely tantamount, because that really says, what are your pupils supposed to be like in a well-lit room? They're supposed to really be decreased and not dilated. So right away, this mom appears to be under the influence of a drug. Looking at her teeth, she's missing teeth, which lots of times we see with methamphetamine, and methamphetamine is on the rise in the United States. We placed a picture of the mom at the baby's bedside for identification, since the baby was delivered at home. And then she brought the baby in. And then she stated she saw Dr. Gaston once in Las Vegas. So we called Dr. Gaston's office for records. And Dr. Gaston was an anesthesiologist who stated she had never seen the mom. So we had to go into some of those things, go back in and say, well, we called Dr. Gaston and she does not do OB or family medicine. So we really need to, in order to take care of your baby and you have the information that's correct. And so it's like saying to a mom very nonchalantly, just judgmentally, well, there's grapes on sale at Kroger or the grocery store. So we have to really, as we, in our own physical appearance and our voice, not make judgment. So this is one of the, this is wonderful. This is from, Vancouver, British Columbia. I had done some work with some Canadian nurses this fall and found this. And really, it is an excellent, excellent resource. And no matter where you live in the world, you can use this. Addressing stigma is an absolute key thing that we have to do. Number one, we can care for the baby, but we have to address stigma, because if we don't realize our own stigma and what we have regarding the biases we have. So there's a self-reflective exercise, which all of you have probably read now. And it's what moms get from other healthcare providers. I think if we look at the fourth dot down, I believe that relapse is a normal part of the recovery process. Absolutely. And that's very hard for us to do, because in healthcare, if you've got an infection, you take antibiotics for 7 to 14 days and everything's done. You're cured. That's not true. That's not true with substance use disorder, which we used to call addiction. The other thing is, I can tell by looking at a mom, if she's got a history of substance abuse, there's no way. You can have a mom who is so put together. She has her hair done every single week. Her nails are fabulous. And she really knows the different kinds of things to say, and she can come up whenever she needs to at a certain point in time. And that mom may have a substance use disorder. And so our bias is, you look different if you have a substance use disorder, and we cannot do that. We have to look at all women straight across the board. when we hear our colleagues judging or stigmatizing moms on the left-hand side, comments we can hear, how can she do that to her baby? She's a terrible mom. If she cared about her baby, she would stop using drugs. And that's not where addiction really is. Our response is we need to create safety for our colleagues, safety for our moms, by saying, I know I used to feel the same way, then I got to know one of these moms, or I find it really difficult too, but I keep thinking about what's happened to her in her life. The top one I used, I really started using that, oh gosh, probably 20 years ago when I realized being the liaison between the NICU and our inpatient chemical dependency unit that we had for pregnant and parenting moms. Because one of the key things that I really learned in talking to these moms, sitting down with them for an hour and then taking them to the NICU, giving them an idea of where their baby potentially could go, which I need to say today, that's not something that we do. We do not automatically admit to the babies to the NICU, which we'll talk about in the next hour. And that was, I had the judgment issues as well, personally myself. I was also pretty lucky very early in my career in the NICU at St. Joseph's in Denver, in downtown Denver. And I was discharging a mom at the time, heroin. It was absolutely huge in Denver. And so I was giving discharge instructions to this mom. And I was pretty curt, pretty short with her. I was really young. And Dr. Miller was standing at the door. He had just kind of come in at the tail end of my conversation. I took the mom and the baby down to the car and came back up to do my charting. And Dr. Miller said, Maureen, I'd like to talk to you. I noticed how you were talking to that mom. And do you think that she knew how angry and upset you were with her? And I said, well, I hope so, because this baby was in here for a month and really had a really, really hard time. And he said, how much of what you told her as far as really caring for her baby and the phone numbers to call and those kinds of things, do you think she really heard? And that's when it was kind of like a bullet between the eyes, because it was, I did not want to impede the care of the baby at all by having her not hear the instructions and be able to complete those instructions when she got home. So it was a matter of we have anger inside, but I think one of the key things is on the second piece there, I find it really difficult too, but I keep thinking about what has happened to her in her life. And this is one of the key things that we are really starting to look at is trauma-informed care, the trauma that a person received as they were growing up, or the trauma that they experience in a relationship now. Those are important ideas for us to gather. And I know trauma-informed care, Mary Coughlin in Boston on trauma-informed care on the newborn, the parents, that's where my eyes were open probably about 6 years ago. But studying the adverse childhood experiences is one thing. When we look at that, we discover what we ourselves had experienced and where we come from and why we come from with our parents. And then we begin to understand. That's one of the things that opened my eyes. Working on the chemical dependency unit, before I'd talk to the moms, I'd look at their psychosocial, probably about 3 pages, and it was their intake. And usually those moms had experienced a major loss in their life, and that's why either they had a relapse or why they did turn to drugs. And that's where my eyes were open, because I said, I can't believe this woman is standing here. What she has experienced is incredible. Even the moms who are well put together, who look great, may have experienced severe trauma as they were growing up, either in a family where they didn't have much or a family of great wealth. And so they didn't receive real positive feedback from individuals that they did live with. Barriers to connection when we ask moms questions or try to connect with them, there's a power imbalance, because They come into healthcare, and healthcare is a major I'm in charge. It was wonderful to see, as far as the comments that your patients are giving you, the wonderful care that you're giving those moms. But I think another thing too, that when we look at on the woman's side, there's cultural practices and the impact of the mother-in-law. There's some cultures where the mother-in-law comes in and cares for the baby for 30 days. And the mom just is able to really, really recover. So we look at some of those aspects, or a mother-in-law who's just been incredibly negative and very standoffish and doesn't want to have anything to do with the mom. So relationships with women of the same age of the mother-in-law can have an impact. Blaming women for her substance use disorder is very, very judgmental. She did really not choose to have a substance use disorder. And so one of the key things on the woman's side, the previous experience in healthcare, I'm afraid to even say anything to anyone because I had these people be so judgmental. So why should I put myself out for that? I may have experienced that as a child as well. People were so judgmental, so mean to me. I'm not going to even bring this up because I don't want to bring all this back. Women do have self-stigma, so that when there is substance use disorder, we on the outside don't have to give them stigma. They have the stigma already. I just can't beat this. I want to be the best mom. But as one mom said, I hope that I can be as good a mother as I am an addict. So I heard that last year at a conference in Seattle, where there were a group of 5 women on the stage in front of 300 healthcare providers. I mean, that took a lot of guts to be able to make that statement. Looking at our body language, I think when we talk to people straight on, that sometimes can be a barrier, as opposed to, I found when I was talking with my moms, just even walking down the hallway side by side, as we'd walk down the hallway, around the corner, halfway down the block, basically, to the NICU, there would be a lot of things that would come out because I was not face to face with them. And then we get into the tactile kinesthetic, which is the act of walking, which brings out emotion. So moms have a lot of intuition. They have a lot of vibes. I'll never forget a mom. I was in the elevator going downstairs to the NICU with her. There was another individual in the elevator. We got out, and she's really nervous and everything. And we start walking towards mom baby unit. And she said, that person had crack on him. That person had crack on him. And I was just really afraid because it just made me want to use. I'm thinking, I had no idea this person had crack on them. They didn't look like they had crack on them, but there were tremendous vibes that this mom got from this individual. Sometimes we're insensitive to cues, and I think, I wonder if I was insensitive to cues to the other individual. I was not insensitive to her cues. She was very, very nervous. And moms who've experienced adverse childhood experiences are on alert, because especially if you have experienced, whether it's a verbal abuse, whether it's a physical abuse, you're just aware of everything that's going on around you so that you can be ready, okay? Healthcare providers, some of the barriers. When moms talk to us, some of us may miss the mini pauses. I think nurses are less likely to miss the mini pauses, and moms are thinking, and yet there's a slight stop in their speech pattern. I wouldn't even say a stop. As I said, it's a pause. It's just a minute, split second kind of pause, and they're hoping that we will pick up on this and continue to further the conversation. They may not bring out the conversation themselves. They're hoping we do, because they'll say, well, you're a nurse, you should know how to do this. You're a nurse, you should be asking me these questions. Hearing moms say, I was in that office 6 times, and I came in and I had I had track marks, and nobody said a word to me. Nobody said a word to me. I even wore a short sleeve shirt. So still afraid to bring this out herself, but hoping someone else would. And when you hear the mini pauses, she finishes her sentence, and then it's, I, as a healthcare provider, you just pause a little bit when you said this, whatever it was. Is there something else that you were thinking about saying? Okay, and then she can say yes, she can say no, she's not ready to talk to you, but you've brought that to the forefront and said, I realize, I'm listening. I am really listening to you. Okay, words definitely matter. We're changing our language when we talk about substance abuse, and this is one of the things. There's, as I was going through this for the Canadian nurses, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm still saying that. I've got to stop doing that. So in that Stigma booklet, and it is a booklet, you can download the whole thing online, but it goes through some of those barriers. You can see that 83% experienced barriers to recovery, and what that means is there was something that stopped them by a healthcare provider. The healthcare provider stopped them from even going on into, okay, we can assist you in getting an assessment for drug or alcohol. We can help you do this. And this is one of those first steps. And I have phone numbers. While we're here, would you like me to call? Lots of times what we as nurses will do is we'll say, oh, the social worker will take care of that. But sometimes what has to happen is we as nurses have to open the door so the social worker can come in, so the mom doesn't feel stigmatized. So the words to avoid are all there on the left: addict, abuse, users, habit, clean, dirty, sober, clean. I still use, well, she had a clean UA, and I have to really stop that. I've got to really just make it so, like Chatty Cathy, pull the string. It's got to come out easily. But person with a substance use disorder, that really changed in 2015. So instead of abuse, it's misuse, it's harmful use, it's risky use, it's inappropriate use. So moving out that abuse word, because that creates stigma right away. The mom in 3 is a user. So we have to stop that. We have to really call that on a person. Oh, you guys, just the other day when we went to this, the MCH day, it's a person who uses. That's one of the newer terms we really need to do, because then that mom will be more likely to open up to us. Okay. A habit, it denies that it's a medical nature of the condition. It implies that if you've got a habit, you have willpower to stop that habit. I mean, it's just like you have willpower to start the habit. You have the willpower to start the habit of going to Weight Watchers or flossing your teeth 7 days a week. That's a habit, as opposed to a substance misuse disorder, alcohol or drug disease, because that's what it is. It's a brain disease. There's brain chemistry that has been altered, that has been changed. There's brain chemistry as far as, well, why do some people after a C-section, when we start them on opioids, why do some moms end up with a substance misuse disorder and some moms don't? Has to do with brain chemistry. This is one of the big things, looking at how we administer medication to our moms post C-section, and really decreasing the use of opioids, and using the mix of acetaminophen and ibuprofen together, like day 2. And really, there's some good data that's going to come out on that from Catherine Bennett, Chicago area. So again, clean and dirty UAs. Sometimes the moms will refer to them. I had a dirty UA. And so to say, so your drug test was positive. So just reframe it for them, because again, it's associated with filth instead of an illness. So sober and clean, this is one of the things I use, sober and clean. I've used it for years and years and years. It's a person in recovery. It's a person who is addiction free. So, but you will hear individuals say, I've been clean and sober for 10 years, 6 months, and 3 days. That's when you know a person's in recovery, when they give you the years, the months, and the days. Okay. replacement or substitution therapy, it suggests that there's a lateral move from an illegal drug like from heroin to a legal addiction such as methadone or buprenorphine. And we cannot consider any of those. It's medication-assisted treatment. It's treatment. It's medication that assists the addictive behavior to stop, not replacing. And this sometimes comes from family members. You might hear a mom say, I have not told my mom because she thinks I hear her talk about some of my friends, oh, so-and-so is in that methadone program where they are using that Subutex, and so which is buprenorphine. And so she hears her mom say that. And so that's why she may not tell her mom, because it's in the family, it's looked at, you're just substituting one drug for another. I heard one mom, more than one mom, who told me, I really don't want to go on that methadone. I don't want to take that methadone because I want to just get totally, totally clean. And that's the mom's words. I don't want to substitute one drug for another. And I said, this is what your baby needs in order for your baby to stay healthy, because you don't want your baby to get sick inside. And that's the term a lot of moms may use when they start to withdraw. And so really encouraging that mom that this is going to really help her stay in recovery and as she goes through her treatment program. So words to avoid. Oh, this is what I hear in the media all the time. This baby was a victim of, this baby was suffering from. It's has a history of. So the baby was prenatally exposed. So use the baby first. Always use the baby first. We really can't say, like on the third one they're born addicted to, the baby was exposed prenatally to substances. So the baby comes first. It's not a heroin baby. It's not a methadone baby. It's not a bupe baby, also known as Subutex, right? So the baby's dependent on the intrauterine transfer of drugs. So the baby does not have a substance use disorder. The baby does not have an addiction, according to the true definition, okay? And the baby is experiencing withdrawal. Your baby may experience withdrawal. This is one of the things when moms maybe come in for, when they used to come in for tours, this is one of the key things that moms in medication-assisted treatment, we really try and go through the process of their babies being exposed prenatally and how their babies may react as they begin to withdraw from those drugs as the cord was cut. So moms, one of the key things is, you can tell this was from my Canadian lecture, with the arrête, with the stop sign there. Moms will start out on the left-hand side where others will judge them and blame them. And then the moms become very self-conscious. It's like walking into a unit or being in the bed on your unit and someone walks in and the moms will say they know that they can tell. And she has not even really told anyone. No one really knows, but the moms are very self-conscious. They have a lot of guilt. They are afraid that they won't be able to parent. So then their confidence is really eroded and they feel they have no power. Again, if you've heard all your life too with adverse childhood experiences, you're no good, you can't do anything, you're not nearly as good as your sister, you'll never be able to come up to what your sister was. I mean, that's sometimes when kids are in grade school and they've had older siblings who have done incredibly well, and maybe math is not their forte. And so those teachers have had your brothers and sisters before, and they were math geniuses, and you're not a math genius. So you just come in with eroded confidence. And that's how individuals are also with substance use disorder. So then just stop. And they don't proceed on at all. It's like, I'm hopeless. I'm no good. I am doomed to this life of using drugs, or doomed to being an alcoholic. I've heard moms say, until I got my wonderful midwife, April, I thought I was going to be a drug addict the rest of my life and die from an overdose. But April really showed me and helped me, and I got into treatment. And if it weren't for April, I thought I was doomed. And that's where you get into the eroded confidence and no power. So trauma-informed care, it's the trauma. I just really got messed up with this term. I thought, oh, I could only think of trauma in the ED. I couldn't think trauma any other way. But it's the trauma of life. And women will believe the non-truths they've heard. And really, it changes brain chemistry. They've been able to do PET scans, and they've been able to, especially on children, find that their brains have changed in environments that are so negative, so fearful and overwhelming. So we need to be the coach. We're always the coach in labor, right? We're the coach in the special care nursery when the moms and the dads are really trying to care for their baby. I love Call the Midwife. There's a Christmas, on Christmas Day, there's going to be Call the Midwife special. And this was Midwife Lucille, season 9, this past spring. She said to a mom, "You're a strong woman. You are in charge and you can do it." This is when she delivered a mom in an elevator, because the elevator stopped. Have to have all kinds of different things going on. That's everybody's fear. I think the elevator's just going to stop and you're not going to be able to deliver this baby. And she did. But I think one of the other things too, I would have to say to myself, you are strong, you are in charge, and you can help this mom deliver this baby. So it goes a couple of different ways. So being the coach and encouraging so that she can hear the positive words over and over. We should do this with every single woman, no matter what she looks like. So how we establish connection. Again, moms are on survivor skill mode. They're on alert. They lack trust. Maybe she's experiencing trauma within the relationship with the individual, with her partner. And so she's on constant alert. And we've all learned when partners answer the questions, when partners won't leave the room, sometimes the only way that we can talk to a mom is when we help her or assist her into the commode or into the bathroom and close the door so that partner can't hear. Be comfortable in your own skin. And this is going through understanding what you yourself may have experienced when you were growing up as a young child. And so that you don't say some of the same words that you may have heard, and you learn to do that. You learn to back off on being judgmental, that I'm better than you because I'm the nurse and you don't know what's going on, and et cetera, et cetera. So being comfortable in your own skin is very, very important with the moms. Jumping outside of yourself, jumping into where the mom is, not where your space is. Our body posture. Sitting down. I think sitting down at the bedside is one great way to get off your feet if you can. So that's a key thing. Also, one of the big things is that computer. That computer is a big barrier. Where is the computer placed in the room when we ask the mom's question? Are we asking the computer the question, or are we asking the mom the question? Always preface with the computer. I want you to know that you're important, not my computer important, but this is one of the easiest ways, fastest ways for me to get into the computer. So everybody who reads this, you don't have to repeat over and over again. And this is one of their fears, is they do have to repeat over and over and over again. But I do know, who's got time at the beginning of the shift to look through a mom's chart? We don't. So we rely on our colleagues to be able to give us non-judgmental, what's the key concern from my shift when I cared for this mom to help me, who's taking care of this mom or this baby now. Practice being appalled. So if women tell you as far as their use, usually on the weekend, I can put away a rack of beer, no problem on the weekends. So I never knew what a rack was, so I had to ask what a rack was. Well, a rack is a case of beer. And then I didn't even know how many beers were in a case. And so when I was told, well, it's 24 24 beers. I'm thinking, man alive, that's a lot. That's a lot. So one time when I was talking to a mom on the chemical dependency unit, I said, "Oh, I understand that you drank alcohol," and this mom had drunk 2 racks, so she was drinking 48 beers in a 24-hour period of time. I'd say just get me a Foley. I'd be in the bathroom all the time, et cetera, et cetera. Well, she stopped me and she said, yeah, 2 racks a day and a 5th. So she was drinking hard liquor along with those 48 beers. And my facial expression, I'm kind of like out there. So I have to practice being appalled. I have to hear different kinds of things. So when a woman gives me information that is absolutely appalling, that I put on the actress face. And I also have to be empathetic. I can't be a board. I can't be a stick. But that I'm not like, holy cow, right? Because right away that gives stigma. That gives stigma. That gives judgment. And then our tone of voice, just as I said before, you have to normalize the behavior, because sometimes some women, their support group are other women who drink or other women who are using at the same time. So normalizing that behavior is normal for them. The other thing is, when we go back to adverse childhood experiences, children, when they live in that environment, that has become normal to them until they go to somebody else's house, maybe for dinner, and they see this is not how our family does this. And so then there's kind of an aha every so often. So to normalize it with our tone of voice reduces stigma for the moms. So there's the grapes on sale at the superstore up in Canada at Sloblos and Loblaws. And so for us, it could be Kroger's or Shaw's or Wegmans. Oh my gosh. Grapes are on sale at Wegmans. I love Wegmans. Okay, that's New York. All right. Oh, my screen has frozen up just a second here. Let me see how I'm going to get this slide to advance. I'm going to escape just for a second and go to here. There we go. That works. All right. So not all questions fit all providers. I love this drinking fountain. It's kind of like art in a public place almost. This is at Houston Hobby Airport. And no matter what your size, you got a drinking fountain that kind of fit. And I think one of the key things as far as we use the tools, the questionnaires for our moms, there's so many out there, and you just need to find the one that fits you, that feels comfortable for you, the questions that are comfortable for you to ask. And so as we ask those questions, this is just a one question. And it says pretty much it all. How many times in the past year have you used an illegal drug, or, this is big, used a prescription medication for a non-medical reason, for example, because of the experience or the feeling it caused? And one of the comments that one of the chemical dependency counselors shared with me, she said, what happens is individuals will use opioids to relieve the pain of living. And that really brought it home to me as well. So it's because the experience or feeling it caused. Opioids, one of the things is you can just buzz out, sleep. It's again one way of not having to deal with what's going on. You just feel a totally different way. Any of you who've taken opioids for a fracture, for surgery, post-op, whatever, you kind of know what's going on with that. I remember having really bad cough and pleurisy, this like 20 years ago, and so they gave me the cough syrup Tussinex with hydrocodone in it because I was coughing so much. And I remember taking that and laying on the couch going, no wonder my mom's used this. My mom's on chemical dependency. No wonder. It was like, I didn't care. I did not care at all. My kids came in, Chris, who's 16, he goes, Mom, is it okay if I take the car? Fine, take the car. He goes, I'm going to go to Coeur d'Alene, over to Idaho, across state lines. I said, great. And can I take Steven with me? So he's this his brother, who's 3 years younger. I said, fine, just kind of, text me when you get over there. And so thank goodness their dad had come up the stairs. And he said, what's this I hear about going to Coeur d'Alene? Mom says we can go. Mom says, my husband says, your mom's on drugs. Forget it. There's no way you're going to be able to do this. So because of the experience or feeling it caused. And that's one of the aspects we look at as far as, I have a prescription for this. And this is one of the things that happens with moms with cannabis. I have a prescription for this. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the New York legislature this coming legislative session in the spring. I'm kind of like going off a little bit, but cannabis, that's the third time it's going to be introduced, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts it's going to go through for you as well in New York. So this is interviewing for substance use, about how many joints do you smoke per day or a week. And now what we have to ask is how many edibles. Edibles are everywhere, you guys. I mean, even though you're not a legal state, Massachusetts sure is. So that's a very easy way where individuals get edibles. Have you used cocaine in the past year? That's a yes, no. I much prefer how much cocaine have you used in the past year. And one of the key things you always have to say to all of your moms is, I ask every one of my moms these questions, because otherwise it's going to be, oh my God, she thinks I use. What kind of place is this? So you always have to qualify that because they know about the opioid epidemic. It's just we just do this for every.
Maureen, can I interrupt you? Your slides are not advancing all of a sudden.
I'm on interview guide for substance use. Are you there?
No, right now I just see I don't see any of your slides.
None of them.
Yeah,
I just see personal physical attributes, established connection, where you listed survivor skills, be comfortable in your own skin, jump out of yourself, outside of yourself.
Okay, gosh, let's see. Let me do this again. Now what do you say?
I would recommend stop sharing and then go back into sharing.
Okay. And I'm trying to find out where I'm going to do that at.
So on the top of your screen on the right, you have that little bar that says share content.
Top of the screen.
Next to the button that says leave, there's a little square with an arrow in it.
I don't see leave.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I found the stop sharing.
Okay, and then
Now
try sharing again.
Okay.
Okay, yep, and then go into your, yeah, perfect. Interview guide for substance use.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so if that happens, let me know right away, okay? All right. Okay, so how much did you take and how often did you crush it, inject it? I mean, sometimes nurses go, I can't get into this as far as, because, here comes another contraction. So, but I think that if you look at some of the first top things, have you ever attended a treatment program for opioid? And we would not use the term addiction, opioid use disorder. Okay, you can see when this is published. This is published in 2011. So, but it's a guide for asking the questions on moms. Benzos, boy, benzos are really being used in combination with opioids now. We see a lot of our moms who are using benzodiazepines. How much and how often do you take benzodiazepines and where do you get them from? So have they been prescribed for you, etc. In our medication-assisted treatment program here in Spokane, we see so many moms who are also on benzodiazepines. And so there is a whole weaning protocol during pregnancy. Takes up to about 2 weeks to get the moms weaned off benzodiazepines because the babies really can withdraw much more severely there. Okay, so did you get the next slide? Taste, screen on pregnancy? Okay. I
Yes,
didn't hear.
yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So these usually the questionnaires are tools or screens, because this is not like a whole assessment. Tolerance, how many drinks does it take to give you a buzz? When do you really start to feel it? Some moms might say, oh, I don't feel anything till after I'm done with the first 6-pack, etc. Do people annoy you by criticizing your use? This would be family members. This would be friends. Whoa, you need to back off on this a little bit. Have you yourself ever felt you ought to cut down? It's like, whoa, I really laid one on. Or have you ever felt you ought to cut down the first time that you have a car accident? Okay. Have you ever had a drink or used first thing in the morning? That's a big key thing. I think one of the key things too is you can even do this for nicotine and vaping. Have you ever felt you ought to cut down on your vaping? Do people, annoy you by criticizing your vape use, right? Have you ever had to make sure that you just had your vape pen right there on your nightstand so that you could vape first thing in the morning? Because this all is related to drug level, whether it's nicotine level, alcohol level. Your drug level is lowest early in the morning. So we are aware of ask and looking at advising individuals that it's safest to stop drinking, it's safest to stop smoking, stop vaping. I go also with harm reduction to cut down as much as you possibly can so that your baby does not have these chemicals crossing from the placenta. Assist the mom through referrals. And again, having the social worker on board with those phone numbers, or if you have other individuals with smoking cessation, nicotine cessation who can come in. And then looking at the need for further assessment. So we have done a screen by asking those questions, but does mom need further assessments? This is my favorite one right here. This is the 4 Ps plus, and they all begin with P. Dr. Ira Chasnoff, this is specific to pregnant women. And so this is supposed to be the last question you ask. I make it the first question because it's a safe question to answer. How much did you use in the month before you knew you were pregnant? Because I can do different things and I'm not going to be stigmatized if I tell you maybe what I did before I got pregnant. I'll be stigmatized during the pregnancy. You'll think differently of me. So I like to ask this question first. Have you had problems in the past with drugs or alcohol? Maybe in high school this happened, maybe in 8th grade this happened, okay? How much did your parents use? It gives you history of the function of the family. Was it normalized? Was it normal to see your dad come home every single night after work and have a couple of cocktails, or your mom drinking with your dad? Was it common that you saw this? Was it common? I think when we look at the ACEs and the adverse childhood experiences, did you see your parents bite? Was there physical abuse when they were using, etc.? Did other people come over and use? Were there parties in your house? Were you in your bedroom, etc., etc.? I mean, these are all the questions that get asked in the ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. How much did your partner use? Okay, so you told me that your parents used, and they may share it was a difficult time for them, or it was very common for them. So you saw your parents use. I see that you've listed here, or Elroy or Bing is here, and how much use is there? Because it's difficult for a woman not to use when her partner is using at the same time. So you told me that in the month before you got pregnant that you used some cocaine along with some heroin. So now that you're pregnant, about how much are you using? So this is why I like it, because you've already told me this before you knew you were pregnant. And now I'm going to circle around here. And I'm going to say, well, you told me that you use this, so about how much? So it's kind of like you're normalizing that use in your tone of voice, So about how much have you used this pregnancy? And get ready to be appalled, because, and it depends on what your relationship is. We had a nurse, she's since retired, labor nurse. And as she did her assessment, and she wasn't on the computer all the time, she was just kind of, talking to the mom. She stood at the foot of the bed and gave her foot massages. So she gave her mom's foot massages as she's, this is going to help you, and this one way we can help through labor and to help you breathe, etc. And so she'd massage, and then she started talking, and she would get the most incredible histories from her moms. No one else could do it, but it was her demeanor, and it was how she stated things. Touch was going on, a very comforting touch, foot massage, right? So it's very interesting, but I like this one. And it's easy to remember too. Okay. In the past, parents, partner, and pregnancy. And that's Ira Chasnoff. He was at Northwestern in Chicago when the epidemic with cocaine came out in the mid-90s. He was doing so much research with babies. So Ira Chasnoff. Now, the alcohol questions to really ask, if you get into this, is if she tells you, a 6-pack on Friday nights or Saturday nights or whatever. Well, so is it ice beer? Well, one of the key things with ice beer is its higher alcohol content. It's the way they make it. And so it's just like Coors Ice, Bud Ice, anything like that. You can see that that's going to be a higher alcohol content. Moms know this. And then we have kokanee here in the States. Kokanee is brewed up in British Columbia, directly north of us. So we've got a lot of kokanee here. And then the other thing too is looking at the light beers. So like Bud Light, Coors Light, that's a lower content. But one of the key things that is also found is that in the craft brews, or the beers that are craft beers, I don't work for any of these companies. I'm just going to spit them out, like Sierra Nevada, or now I've just blanked. So those craft beers have a higher alcohol content. Space Dust. Oh my gosh, we've got breweries in Montana. Moose Drool. So those are much higher. So we're getting into the 6% alcohol content. So asking about those types of beers as well. I mean, I'm not a beer drinker myself at all, but it's kind of, as you go through Drug Enforcement Administration courses, or hang around with chemical dependency unit counselors, you really begin to learn some of these different kinds of things. So I think as a healthcare provider, it's very important for us to realize and to know about these things. It's very interesting. In the journal Circulation of the American Heart Association, the September issue, there's a whole thing on cannabis use. And one of the things that I pull out of that lecture is healthcare providers need to be aware of the use of cannabis and how it's used. The same thing is true for all the drugs, alcohol, methamphetamine. I mean, it's not part of our lives. So we really have to search these kinds of things out. If you can find a police officer in your community, I know some nurses are married to law enforcement, and so you get information from, sometimes they'll come home and tell you about different things that happened.
Hey, Maureen, can you see the chat? There's lots of chat going on.
Oh, no, I don't see any chat.
Yeah, so click the little thing that looks like a bubble above somebody's head. Cannabis becomes legal in New Jersey this January. Craft beers have 10 to 12% alcohol. I love it when people participate. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I can't find, I don't have the chat there on my slide.
Maureen, as the presenter, when you're sharing your screen, you won't be able to see the chat.
Okay.
So we'll let you know when we see something.
Yeah, we'll keep feeding it to you.
I love it when you guys do that. That's awesome. So now I'm back. So is the alcohol question to ask that slide back up again?
Yes.
And Bull Blaster is next.
Yep.
Good, good. So yeah, New Jersey, the voters of New Jersey in November. And one of the things about New Jersey that was fascinating, I mean, that's why you guys are going to be next, because the legislature is not going to want New York money to go to New Jersey. Okay, I mean, it's all politics. It's all politics. So it's going to be so easy. I mean, since we're legal here as far as cannabis goes in the state of Washington, we in Colorado were the first 2 states in 2012. The voters voted it in. But what was interesting, it just came out in one of our newspapers. See, Spokane County is right on the Idaho border, and the 2 other, the largest counties on the Idaho border have the largest capita per use of cannabis in the state of Washington. And I thought, wait a sec, we're not like, no, until like the next sentence. So I kind of go like way out here till I read the next sentence. Well, it's because we're on the Idaho border. And so people from Idaho come over, even though it's illegal for them to take it across the border back into Idaho. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So, gosh, right across the Hudson there. Isn't the top of New Jersey right there? Yeah. So it's going to be really easy for people to just go across the Cuomo Bridge, right? Yeah. All right. So Bull Blaster, since I have it up here. So Red Bull's that energy drink, mixed in with Jägermeister, is called a Bull Blaster. So this was out of the one of the magazines for students at University of Maryland, and they said, hey, you guys, you got to be really careful. And this is asking those questions too to moms, because one of the things is you will drink more if you have an energy drink along with whatever your liquor or liqueur is. Because you have the energy drink, you don't get the slowing down of the alcohol. You get the increased energy and you drink more. And so what happens is then we have more toxicity due to the alcohol. And so in this particular newspaper they had there at University of Maryland, they were talking about 3 deaths in Sweden of 3 students. So I shared this with my son. He was not yet 25 at the time, so his brain wasn't quite done. And so he said, Mom, those kids were in Sweden. And, oh my gosh, this is called transfer of information. So what happens in one place, is going to happen here. It could happen to you, but before the age of 25, when your brain's not done, you don't make transference of information really well with storytelling. But that is one danger when you are using an energy drink along with a particularly hard liquor. I know that there are some products that are out there that do have increase in caffeine along with the alcohol right in the same can. So another kind of what we could ask here is the cage, which is, have you felt the need to cut down? So again, a lot of these questions, it's usually 3 out of 4 of the questions match and have the same kind of theme. People annoyed you, which is the same. Did you feel guilty about your use? And have you ever had to start the day with an eye opener? So feeling guilty is the question that's a little bit different, but you still see the cut down, being annoyed, and the eye opener in the cage. Not specific to pregnant women. The tweak, again, is not specific to pregnant women. Tolerance, how many drinks can you hold? It's the number of drinks that a person can hold before, falling asleep, getting a buzz on, or passing out, or not remembering, so that you have lapses in your memory. And okay, so I'm going to tell you what happened to me the night before graduation from nursing school house party. We were with all the nursing students, their boyfriends or husbands, etc. And so someone mixed me Harvey Wallbangers, sweet, nice orange juice, some Galileo, I think is in there or something. Not Galileo. You guys know what it is. It's yellow liqueur. And so I had too much. And so they knew I had too much. I didn't know I had too much. So they walked me outside around the block. Now, this is the last week of March, because we graduated from nursing school in March. I don't remember 2 sides of the block. Okay, so that's called, lapses in memory. Scared me to death. I'm a person who wants to be in control. I do not want to know what I didn't know for 2 entire blocks. So anyway, those kinds of things, but I've never done that since. Too scary for me, too scary for me. So have you ever had close friends or relatives worried? Eye opener is there. Here's the amnesia one, right? This is different. Friend or family member ever told you about things you said or did while you were drinking, okay? So I must have said some stuff for them to take me outside and walk me around the block. Well, that's not going to sober me up, right? Drinking a lot of coffee is not going to sober up as well. It's just, okay, get in my boyfriend's car and he's going to take me home. And yes, and then my mom, I could hear her. It was like, oh, Maureen, because I had to get up and graduate the next day. She was not happy with me. All right. Do you sometimes feel the need to cut down? So again, you can see tolerance, other people worried about you, eye opener, cutting down in the tweak, and amnesia is the one that's different. So these are all ways of assessing to get the person also to realize, okay, these are not okay kinds of things. Native American motivational interviewing. This is a wonderful, when you're working with moms of Native American culture, because one of the key things in this is looking at, and in Canada, we know it's First Nations. You're right up there against Montreal. And if you ever have any moms come down from Canada who happen to be First Nations, we call it Native Americans. In Canada, you're First Nations. So family and kinship ties, ready to change is not steady. There's changes in external environments. Culture, identity is incredibly important to First Nations. We can take these things from Native Americans, First Nations. The importance of our identity in our own spirit, in our own strength, our own respect, sense of equality. Again, when you're in healthcare, we as nurses have that power. Okay. Honor client wisdom. The mom is going to tell us. This is, I don't want you to just think, Native American or First Nations mom, to be able to take this wisdom of the First Nations and move it into our client populations. And some individuals pray in a way that's comfortable for the client. Use this at the client discretion. This is not something that I ever would go in. I did work in a Catholic hospital where you see prayer more often. Maybe a sister would come in, a nun would come in, et cetera, et cetera. But the last 30 years of my career, I was in a there was no religious affiliation. That was not anything that really came up. But sometimes in some individuals, seeing what they bring in with them as a way of comfort in labor, et cetera. And then belief in the clients, as far as this is a key thing, what moms can do. And again, as I stated earlier, we as nurses being a coach. The family and kinship ties over there on the left-hand side, discrepancy in the community with substance use disorder and disconnection from the community. Sometimes there's so much substance use disorder in community. And again, as I said before, the normalcy when you're in a using group, no matter who you are, you could be making, $500,000 a year and you're in that population. I mean, I kind of like, the last time that I drove from Chappaqua to the airport, I got kind of lost, and I have never seen so many McMansions in my life. This was in White Plains, the White Plains Airport, which I know is called something else, but that would be a community where you could have women who get together, and that the amount of use becomes normal in that group. So it's no matter, there's no discrepancy. So substance use disorder has no discrepancy whatsoever. There's no matter what your background is, no matter what your age is, no matter, it's equal opportunity substance use disorder. So I like the First Nations as far as motivational interviewing. And one of the key things, how important it is for a woman to make change to think about going into a recovery or a treatment program. And it's done so well. It's like getting the ground ready for planting. You really haven't prepared the ground. You're unsure about making a change. This is the whole thing as far as what we do with motivational interviewing, but this is from a Native perspective. Seeding in the soil, but it's not been watered yet. Someone's talked to you about it. You've heard about different kinds of things. You had a friend who might have gone into treatment. It's a little important on a scale of 1 to 10. It's a 6, 7, or 8. Your plant just broke through the soil. Okay, it's a little important for me. I'm noticing my kids are being affected by this, or it's very important to make changes. The plant's ready to be harvested, so you are so ready to go into treatment. So I really like this depiction for the importance. And again, we can use it across every parameter. I think one of the things with COVID, I've not traveled since March the 4th. And so I've had a lot of home time, which was time that used to be on airplanes or being with you guys, which I really miss. But I planted a garden this year and I hadn't had one for 10 years. So it's wonderful to watch the seedlings start and then to plant them into the ground. And then I did this with zinnias. So it's one of those things that it brings fulfillment if you think of the gardening and the growth, because that's the whole key thing is we're growing through substance use disorder. So establishing rapport, talking about the patient's primary concern first. I need something for peeing for these contractions, etc. But I wouldn't go through motivational interviewing during labor if you had a mom antepartum. This would be a key place to even think about this. On a scale of 0 to 10, how important do you think it is to, lose weight, take your diabetes medication? I mean, you can use motivational interviewing all across healthcare span, everything, okay? On a scale of 0 to 10, how confident are you that you could cut down or that you could stop vaping, okay, your nicotine? Why did you give yourself a 5 and not a 10 in importance as far as needed to go for walks 3 times a week, exercise, flossing? You can use these for any kind of change, motivation for change, okay? And then why did you give yourself 5 and not a 10 in confidence? And I think one of the things for nicotine that I've heard over and over and over, I don't think I'm really confident because Elroy is still vaping, and it would be really hard for me to quit if Elroy were doing that. As we were doing our filming, we were filming babies with withdrawal last August and September. And one of the things I was talking to moms, because her baby was really withdrawing in the first 12 hours. The first thing I think of is nicotine. I don't think it was her Subutex where the baby was really withdrawing at 12 hours. It was her nicotine. So I asked her about how much nicotine that she used. And then she said, I really, really tried to cut down. I stopped smoking, but then I started vaping. And then I really have been able, since I've been in the hospital, and so she was a section. And so since I came into labor, she says, since I came into labor, I haven't had anything. So I'm kind of like antsy, jittery, etc. But I know that for the last 48 hours. I said, awesome, that is wonderful. She said, but it's going to be really hard for me when I get home. And then her partner came in and, oh my gosh, just, reeking. So that is a barrier when the partner uses. So what do you think it would take for your confidence to go from a 5 to 8? Well, it'd be really great if Elroy would go into, smoking or nicotine cessation program. That would really help me a lot, okay? But because one of the things is, what do you think it would take for your confidence to go? That tells you what the barrier is, and then what needs to be. Okay, this is what we need to work on. This is the point that really is obstructing this mom. Always, always, always. You're really doing some good things to ensure you and your baby will be healthy. Such as, I'm so glad that you came in to deliver. I'm so glad that you came in when your water broke. All those, anything. And you go, well, that's really good for anybody. Well, for this mom, she really needs coaching. And I admire you. I admire you for talking about this. This must be really hard to do. Okay. So those are kinds of things we can do with brief motivational interview and kinds of things to assess. So there is hope. There is hope for our moms. There's hope. There's also hope for us as we learn. This is Hope, Idaho. So it's only a population of 79, but it's one of the key things we always have to think of. Okay. So at this juncture, I am done with this particular lecture. If you want to put things in the chat box, and then my wonderful Vanna White can help monitor that chat box while I go ahead and change out to the other lecture. Okay.
Hi, Maureen. So you do have something in the chat box from one of our nurses in the prenatal care center. She says, we only do tox screens on patients who admit to drug use or are late to care. Will tox screening, drugs, and ETOH ever be part of routine OB screening? We screen for so many other things.
Oh, that's a really, really interesting question. I think one of the things when you do UAs, you're only going to get the information from the previous 72 hours as far as use goes. So, and that's the same thing for the baby. So if we, and it's so difficult to try and bag newborns with all their vernix and everything. For a UA, you're only going to get the history back to 72 hours. So really, I doubt, because of the way the technology is, I really doubt that screening the urine would be something that would be across the board, you know, like our metabolic screening for congenital disorders, etc. I don't think it's going to be there. And if we looked at doing meconium, or we do umbilical cord tissue, we haven't done meconium since 2008, but umbilical cord tissue, it's expensive, so it would probably be about $125 per baby. So I don't know that would be something we would do routinely. It depends on legislatively, because those newborn screen tests, those are really dictated by each particular state. Every state is different as far as mandatory screening goes. I think all 50 now have newborn screening or hearing screening attached to that, but every state is different as far as, like here in the state of Washington, we do 29, we test for 29. It's not all metabolic because the sickle cell comes in there, hemoglobinopathy, which is not metabolic. Next door in Idaho, they do over 60 tests. Well, that's because they send their tests to Portland, Oregon. So Oregon does the 62 tests. So every single state is really different. Nevada also sends theirs up into the Oregon lab as well, because those are states that don't have as many births. So they use a different lab instead of having their own lab. So back to the original question, I pretty much doubt it, just because what is the information going to tell us? If a mom didn't use the 72 hours before that UA, that's not going to give us a history of what she used maybe last week. So I kind of doubt it. Still always, and this is one of the things we developed in the state of Washington about the year 2000, is which moms are we going to do testing on, which babies are we going to do testing on, how are we going to ask the questions, etc. And the legislature in 1998 said, okay, you healthcare professionals, you got to ask more questions. You're not doing this. We're not getting the information that we need. So we really started asking the questions. And the second step was, who do we do testing on? So we looked at just as you said before, late entry into prenatal care is one of those red flags. These are all documented in the literature as far as when you would do that. An abruption. We did a prevalence study in 1992, and we found that if there was an abruption, 16% of those moms who had an abruption, cocaine was involved. We did not look at methamphetamine at the time because it was not on our radar in 1992. We saw our first babies exposed 3 months after we ended the the research and prevalence. We had 800 babies, so we had a pretty good sample size here in the city. But this is one of those key things that we look at, the risk and the history. And then if she tells us, I mean, this is another interesting thing. She said, yes, but I went into treatment, etc. Some providers will say, well, she could have been in treatment in the first trimester, but then there's trimester 2 and 3. I still want to have a drug screen done on her. And it's the mom's option on her to give permission or not. And many moms will say, sure, go ahead and do a drug screen. You're not going to find anything. Unless she's been using CBD. CBD is not regulated. Cannabidiol is not regulated. You can buy it everywhere. Big display at Wegmans, you guys, if you haven't seen it in the pharmacy department. But that's one of the key things. It's not regulated. So CBD can have THC in it. And so individuals will come up positive with THC based on the product that they're using. And because some manufacturers, they will use CBD from, not from the hemp, but from the actual marijuana plant. So buyer beware, buyer beware. That's why the military is restricted from using CBD, because they could have a positive THC, and that's enough to, you're out, you're gone, especially while you're on duty. So that's true for us too. So are there any other questions in the chat box?
There are a couple questions. So one is, could you discuss umbilical testing? Is it the blood in the cord that you were testing? And then someone else asked, what about meconium? Meconium test takes long. Often we don't see results till long after discharge.
Okay, so first question, it's the umbilical cord tissue. So we cut 6 inches of the umbilical cord tissue. We drain out the blood, squeeze out the blood, wash out the blood. So there's absolutely no blood. So we send it to a lab in, it's outside of Chicago. I don't work for them, right? So I have to do disclosure. But then when it gets to Chicago, they grind it up. So they grind the umbilical cord up, and then they're able to assess how many drugs. I think it's now 17 drugs off the umbilical cord tissue. The one that they just added is kratom, Kratom, and kratom is like a plant from Southeast Asia that people will use. It kind of acts like it acts on the same receptors that the opioids do, and so some people who have like a heroin habit, or who have I'm so sorry, a heroin substance use disorder. See how it's kind of like it's ingrained in us when these words come out. But or also if a person's got a substance use disorder with prescription opioids, they will, and you can buy kratom anywhere. I mean, it's what do I want to say? Like the places that sell paraphernalia, like glass, to smoke your marijuana. You can lots of times find kratom, Kratom. Watch for it. I mean, it might be out there on the 7-Eleven. Some kratom. I know. I can see the lights down the hill from our it's a convenience store, and they sell kratom there over the counter too. And so individuals who used kratom instead of going into treatment programs. So on the umbilical cord tissue, you can get kratom off there now, which is, I was like shocked. But they're seeing so much more kratom throughout the United States. The second part of that question, meconium. Now, meconium, it depends on the lab that you use. It takes 3 days to get to transitional stool. So the thing with meconium is it's not going to leave our hospital for maybe 3 days. So once the baby has transitional stool, then okay, we can stop collecting meconium. What happened to us is the baby would be discharged, and a week later, someone would go through the refrigerator, clean it out, go, oh my gosh, this baby was discharged home, and we didn't send this to the lab. Well, what we do is we collect all of the umbilical cords on every single baby, send them to the lab every single day. We have to have an order to send it out, but the lab's got the cord, because once the cord's gone, it's gone. And so sometimes on postpartum, because the moms have such a short stay, perhaps on labor and delivery, so they're on postpartum. And so then there's certain kinds of behaviors, either baby behaviors, mom behaviors, that make you suspect. And so then you can get that umbilical cord out of the lab and get it sent out. As far as results and reporting, if it's a negative report, you should get results back. Again, I don't know who your lab is that you're sending your meconium to, but a negative will come back earlier than a positive because they run a screen on the meconium first. And it's usually you're looking for 5 categories of drugs. And if it's positive for any one of those categories, then they'll do a second test. They'll do a confirmation test. And that's why meconium and umbilical cord are the best, because it gives you information back to 24 weeks gestation, as opposed to the 72 hours only for urine. Others in the chat box.
Oops, sorry, I had myself on mute. How long does the umbilical testing take?
Okay. One of the key things that once it gets out of your hospital and you overnight it, and it gets, for us, when it gets to Chicago by 10 o'clock the next morning, if it's negative, we'll have a negative by 10 o'clock the next morning. So, and those results are faxed to the lab and faxed to the social worker. So once it gets into the lab that we use in Chicago, we can get a negative result within 24 hours. We can get a positive result within 48 hours. There was a period of time where the staff were saying, we're not getting something's wrong. We're not getting our reports back. We're not getting them back. And what we discovered is the lab would send them Monday through Friday, but they wouldn't send them on the weekends. Or they wouldn't send them on Friday because they figured it wouldn't get there till Saturday and the lab wouldn't do it. Well, that was an assumption. The lab does them on Saturday. The other thing, if you send them out on a Sunday, they'll get to the lab on Sunday's the only day they didn't run them. And if you send them out on Sunday, they'll get to Chicago by Monday. So it was within our own institution that the hang up as far as getting results back came. So it was just a matter of doing a little CSI, clinical scene investigation, finding out exactly where the hole was, because I was the liaison between us and that company, and they were very, very, very good. And then finding out why is there. So I would call right back there and talk to them and say, why are our results so slow? Well, let me look at this one. We didn't get it till this date, and the send date was this date. And I'm going, whoa, that was us. Other questions in the chat box?
Not a question. Somebody had just commented, I've seen it at a gas station.
Oh yeah, see. And it's usually in a powdered, that's a kratom probably. It's usually in a powdered form, or it's the powder in they get cellulose capsules and put it in there. So yeah, that's another question. That's another question to ask moms. Not just about opioid or prescription use. Have you used kratom during this pregnancy? And it's KRATOM, because those babies go through withdrawal exactly the same way babies do in which the mom's been using an opioid or Subutex buprenorphine. So if you see it at the gas stations there, you may have moms who are using it, okay? Because it's a way that you don't have to go to treatment or go and get some Subutex, et cetera. You can do it on your own. However, I had a really, really good friend who was visiting with another friend because her adult 40-year-old child had overdosed, and they found kratom plus prescription drugs. The child had had several different joint surgeries by the time that person was 40, and so they had called her from his work and said he hadn't shown up for work, and she went to the condo and he was there on the floor and had overdosed. So they found the kratom. She found several like Ziploc bags full of the kratom capsules. So anyway, it's in all walks of life. So thank goodness. Then that child was then placed in the Subutex program once he got off the ventilator. So, okay. Are we ready to go? All right. So, I will move on then. Okay, so I need to be done at the top of the hour. So we're going to move right along here. You've already seen this disclosure statement. You already know where I live. We're going to look at the prenatally exposed stimulants, nicotine. We're going to difference in the assessment care of the FNAST and Eat, Sleeping, and Soul models, and then different non-pharmacologic care. So are you doing, I'm going to ask this question so you can unmute. Are you doing care so that the mom and the baby are together for 4 days and then discharged with minimal medication for the baby? Or are you using the Finnegan neonatal abstinence score and the baby's in special care?
We're currently doing Finnegan, and it's been NICU admissions. However, we're looking to change that.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Very helpful for me. All right. So number one, staff education on adverse childhood experiences. So if you do move into Eat, Sleeping, and Soul, I think this would be one of the key things even now is to have staff education on trauma-informed care, stigma. The treatment plan for the mom and the baby are going to be so much smoother and so much more effective if every single staff member is on board with this. And that all of us, the nurse, the mentor, maybe it's a family nurse partner who is the mentor. The family can be a coach. They can also facilitate for mom and baby, but understanding that's one of the key things that, you know, we did an hour-and-a-half education just on this before going into Eat, Sleeping, and Soul. And for us, it was a 9-month process to go through, you know, into having mom, baby together. So this is, again, managing infants. This is from the Canadian Pediatric Society. The Canadians were the first ones in Vancouver to have the moms and the babies together in their rooms. And it was first published in 2008. I was not a believer. I was terrible. I said, oh, that'll never happen. These moms will do all kinds of weird, crazy things. I mean, that's my bias. I was terrible. Really, as far as, no, we can't have them in the room. I was very, very, very different until your neighbor there in Connecticut, Matt Grossman at Yale, really started publishing. So, polling question. Babies who are experiencing withdrawal from prenatal drug exposure are A, addicted, dependent, or tolerant, or none of the above. So you're thinking, how would I answer this? So the answer to this question, since we don't have the ability to pull right here, is the baby is dependent on the drug. So there is no substance use disorder. He's not, you know, telling you to go to the Pyxis to get his morphine or methadone. He doesn't have behaviors, right? It's dependency because the cord's been cut. And those mu and kappa receptor sites are no longer filled with the opioids. So he is dependent, or she's dependent on the drug. So the brain chemistry that changes, and this is Dr. PK, Dr. Katra Lakota, right there in your neighborhood, okay? This is a fabulous, I mean, I'm looking at this and it's 6 years old now, but boy, it was a wake up for me to be able to read this paper that he had in pediatrics, because he went through the brain chemistry changes. And so the symptoms are related to the brain chemistry changes. You've got to get this article out of pediatrics, or you don't have it, I'll go ahead and I'll mail it to Stacy, whomever, Megan, whoever. But it, for me, was like, oh my gosh, it's all about brain chemistry. So changes in serotonin level, that's why our babies have sleep disturbances. They're irritable because of the decrease in dopamine. Corticotrophin, they really need to suck, and they have distress. And then decrease in acetylcholine. That's where there's vomiting, yawning, sneezing, and diarrhea. Excuse me. So the diarrhea that these babies experience is due to acetylcholine. It's not due to lactose intolerance. So if this mom is choosing not to breastfeed or use human milk, using a lactose-free formula has no evidence to support its use, because the key culprit is acetylcholine, a decrease in acetylcholine, and that's why, excuse me, these babies have diarrhea. So this little person, I came in one morning at 6:30. The mom had delivered at 4 a.m. and this baby was like air sitting. So if you put a stool under his little bum, it would be like he was sitting there. He's so hypertonic. Look at the little toes, are incredibly tightly flexed. So this baby was beginning to go through withdrawal. She had been using hydrocodone during the last 3 weeks of her pregnancy due to kidney stones. So this baby at that time did go up into the NICU. At this juncture right here, this baby would now today in Spokane, because all 4 hospitals in Spokane are using Eat, Sleep, and Console. And that baby would go in a room with the mom and be with the mom in to Eat, Sleep, and Console. So here's the impact of benzodiazepines, and that's why we wean these moms off benzos. We also look at moms who are on SSRIs, antidepressants. Do not wean them. Do not have them go cold turkey off an SSRI. No, not during pregnancy. Okay. But there is a 30 to 60% increase in the risk of withdrawal when you have these drugs in combination. Okay. If the mom is on 2 psychotropics, the risk was almost 10 times that the baby would experience neonatal absence syndrome, or now what we call neonatal opioid withdrawal, or NOWS. So the recommended medication for babies experiencing withdrawal from cocaine, methamphetamine, or cannabis. So this would be a baby who's jittery, who's irritable. The babies who are exposed to cannabis sometimes don't wake up, and they're poor feeders. So when you look at this list of drugs, you go, wow. See, morphine and methadone are when the mu and the kappa receptor sites are involved for opioids, and cocaine and methamphetamine have to do with dopamine. So morphine and methadone aren't going to touch it. Clonidine not going to touch either of these 3 drugs. Neither is phenobarbital. So no medication. No medication if the baby's withdrawing from cocaine, methamphetamine, or cannabis. So we do non-pharmacologic care for babies exposed to those three types of drugs. So the symptom onset, you can see, and I'm just going to take you straight to nicotine. So symptom onset within 24 hours, we need to think nicotine. And we're developing a video through our public health department, our regional health district, for women, so that they can understand what their baby may go through in the hospital with Eat, Sleep, and Console. So we're doing that. And one of the key things that was out there is moms who've been using tobacco. I said, you guys, we got to change this. We got to get nicotine. We have to throw out tobacco, because if you only say tobacco, they don't even think vaping. Okay, so vaping, babies go through severe withdrawal from nicotine and vaping nicotine. Duration with nicotine is shorter. It's up to a week. You could say duration for withdrawal with methadone and Subutex is up to a month. And again, to make sure that you let these moms know that once we discharge you, your baby still can have symptoms. So, and again, with SSRIs, antidepressants, we might see some jitteriness, irritability. They look like they're hypoglycemic. And sometimes with SSRIs, there's some respiratory distress that looks like transient tachypnea of the newborn. Okay. So pharmacologic treatment, you can see SSRIs, we don't give the baby anything. Nicotine, we don't give the baby anything. But methadone or Subutex, we may give the baby morphine or methadone. And as we were going through our curriculum meeting yesterday for our National Institute of Drug Abuse project, we discussed changing this to opioids, because across the country, there's some units that use morphine and some units that use methadone. So we're just tacking in opioids. But the one thing about, this is fabulous, the one thing about when babies go in to Eat, Sleep, and Console and their mamas take care of them, or family members help the mama, and this can be in a postpartum room, it could be on a pediatric unit, someplace where it's single rooming in for the mom and the baby. Sometimes those babies require only 1 or 2 doses max of either methadone or morphine, and 95% of our babies receive 0 medication. So non-pharmacologic treatment is the mother. The mama is the medicine. the mama is the medicine. So this is just one of our postpartum units, and I really like it because the shades, you can let in the light, you can decrease the light, and having a low light, low noise environment in the mama's room is very, very important. So you see the Finnegan that's over on the left-hand side, which many of you are very familiar with. It's 21 items. This was a shocker to me. It's never been validated. It's been used since 1975, but there's been no randomized control trials. There's no one says that, hey, these scores and these numbers, this means the baby's going through withdrawal. There's on the right-hand side, 3 observations of function, not just symptoms, but function. So ESC was just validated. It was just published in October with Dr. Alicia Walkman and Bonnie Wayland up in, Alicia Walkman's in Boston, Wayland's in, New Hampshire at Dartmouth, and then also at Yale is Matt Grossman. So it's validated. It's been validated, and in Northern New England hospitals, this in October 2020 in pediatrics, it was, gosh, I think 14 Massachusetts hospitals. And there were 4 level 3s, and then the rest were community hospitals. Maybe there were 4 level 4s where they do cardiac surgery, et cetera, et cetera. So the Eat, Sleep, and Console was validated. The tool is yet to be validated, but they're working on it in the Northern New England Consortium, which is Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts. So once that comes out, we will definitely know that this is the tool as opposed to Finnegan that's never been validated, which was, I mean, when you use something for decades and then you find out it's never been validated, kind of really throws a rock at your head. But eating, is it poor eating due to neonatal abstinence syndrome or neonatal opioid withdrawal? Because if they're a poor eater because there's 37 weeks, it doesn't count. Because this poor eating is due to being premature, okay? Sleeping, sleep less than an hour. Look at over on the Finnegan, sleep less than an hour, sleep less than 2 hours. So this is just less than an hour due to, not due to the fact that, oh, the lab came in and did a heel stick and woke the baby up, so he slept less than an hour. No, no, no. It's due to neonatal abstinence syndrome or neonatal opioid withdrawal. And then consoling. Are we able to console the baby within 10 minutes? And there's like 3 things here. They can score on their own. They can console on their own. They console with a caregiver support. So someone bundles them up a little bit tighter, someone gets them a little flexed, and they calm down within 10 minutes. Or no matter what you try for this baby, he is just so losing a poor little person. And we can't console him within that 10 minutes. Then that would be something that we really need to get others involved in and do what we call a huddle. So recommending a formal parent caregiver huddle. And the first level of huddle is the nurse and the parents. And then a full care team huddle is the nurse, the parents, and the nurse practitioner or the physician. Would we consider doing a single dose or what we call a PM dose? Or you see the management decisions, would we continue or optimize the non-pharmacologic care? Maybe there's too many visitors in the room and we need to kick them out. We only limit them, well, there are no visitors now, but we previously limited only 2 people besides the mom in the room. So that could be the dad or the partner and only 1 other person. So, and then you see the other options, initiate medication. Also parental caregiver presence since the last assessment. So this is, are the parents there with the baby? Are the parent, or does the parent kind of like move the baby in a crib out into the nurse's station? Okay, so parent involvement is really important because this would be one of the things, if the baby were not responding well, we would say, boy, we really need to have you here as much as possible. Initially, there was one hospital in town. If the mom said, boy, I've got to go arrange for my childcare kind of fell through and I need to arrange, I need to leave the hospital. See, they're not patients, they're discharged. The moms are discharged, but the babies are still patients. We're trying in the state of Washington to get the state to pay for the mom's length of stay at 4 days. Right now, it's only 1 to 2 days. So we're trying to get the state of Washington to change that, because if you put the bucks there, you're going to save so much money in the long run. If you have babies who are in hospital for 3 weeks, sometimes 3 months, I've seen kids for 3 months, the cost benefit is tremendous. So having those parents be there. But this one hospital said, well, you're leaving, and so you're out, you're gone, you're done. And I was like, those of us downtown are like, are you kidding, when we heard about this? And so we're not punitive that way. We understand that life still goes on. And when you're trying to be in the hospital for 4 straight days and you have other children at home, how are those arrangements? And we talk to moms in medication assisted treatment programs saying you need to arrange for childcare. And we tell them for up to a week, because we don't know if the baby would stay for a week. But I'll tell you, in the hospital I practiced in, average length of stay is 4.2 days. And that's been over 18-month period of time. The first, from May until December, the very first year in 2019, $1 million was saved just in our institution alone. So it does make a big difference. And the babies do so much better. Oh my gosh. So this is from Holmes and Atwood. They're out of Dartmouth in New Hampshire. And one of the key things when they looked at the symptoms most detrimental to babies: excessive crying, poor sleep, poor weight gain, excessive weight loss. What is that? That is calming, sleeping, and eating. It's ESC, and they published this in 2016. Okay, so traditional is to suppress withdrawal. In the NICU, the mom visits instead of the mom parenting. Medication is the treatment, especially in the NICU. The treatment, we treat the number with the Finnegan, right? So if you have 3 scores of 8 or 2 scores of 12, go ahead and begin starting the morphine. The staff, we know how to care for these babies best. That's why I was all up in arms reading in 2008 in Canada, where the babies were with the moms. Oh, I was terrible, right? We can do better, etc. But when you look over on the ESC protocol 2020, the staff coaches, the staff teaches, the staff encourages, the staff facilitates. And really what it is for the mom and the baby are together. The mom is the treatment. The mom knows her baby. It is really a wonderful way to have expertise at your call light. Because what happens sometimes, these moms, when they need us most, they're at home. And one of the key things, by having us right there and learning their baby's cues, learning what comforts them, learning what calms them down. What do they do? A side to side sway and it comforts them? Do they do an up and down sway and it comforts them? Skin to skin, they find out, oh my gosh, skin to skin is so important for my baby. That's what he really calms down to. To be able to say, to a mom, we would go in and we would start filming the symptoms when we first saw them. And sometimes, as I said before, they'd be 12 hours of age. And boy, those little guys, I'd want to give a score of 12 to 15 to. Some of them were and it was nicotine withdrawal they were going through. And so we tried to video during the assessment times. It's the only time we came in. We were on call throughout the day. But then usually by evening time, if we came in and we videoed like at 10 a.m. or something, and then we did our last video at 8, I'd say to a mom, okay, we'll be back at 8 o'clock in the morning, noon, whatever, always taking the nursing into consideration. And so to be able to say to a mom, when I came back in at noon, I said, we're not going to be, we do not need to do any more videoing, because your baby is really not showing symptoms like he was yesterday. This is phenomenal. You're doing such a great job. You're getting to know each other. It was wonderful to be able to give those moms, you're doing what you hope to do, and it's working. It's working. I mean, that was just such a joy for me to see. after doing the Finnegan for decades, and then actually seeing how ESC worked when I would come back, you know, just even 12, 18 hours later. So the validation, here's the validation that they published. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Journal of Perinatology. It wasn't Pediatrics in the October issue. So 3 tertiary hospitals, 8 community hospitals. And one of the key things is 6 months prior to the actual ESC start, they did gradual things. So what they did is they decreased the environmental light. They started some rooming in. They gradually did this until they had an actual start date. So their rollout was kind of one piece at a time. And on their data, as they presented their data, every single time they made a change, they saw a decrease in length of stay. So it was a real gradual rollout that they used. So it's very well done. And one of the key things that they saw a lot more moms who were polypharmacy, which is multiple drugs like benzodiazepines and nicotine and SSRIs. So they saw a lot more of that. And even with that, the length of stay and their medication that the babies required was reduced. So this was a quality improvement project. So it wasn't they didn't have to go through the whole research because they called it quality improvement. So again, you can see pre ESC, their length of stay went from 14 days to 11, and their medication need went from 54% to 34%. We saw a much greater decrease in ours here in Spokane at the Deaconess. The big concern was, okay, so if we have 4-day length of stay or reduced length of stay, are we going to see these babies come back in readmitted due to neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome? And you can see that emergency department visits, this is related just to, not other things like ear infections, et cetera, but just related to opioid withdrawal. You can see that the emergency department visits were cut in half, and you saw that the readmissions were more than cut in half. So here's a brochure that we have put out, Spokane Regional Health District. I can send y'all copies of this if you want to. And this is what we're doing our video off of. And our videos probably, we hope, going to be only about 12 minutes. We're going to do 3 segments of 4 minutes each. Okay, so if a mom only wants to look at certain parts, she can. And so these are all the instructions that we give the moms prior to, and this really works for moms who are on buprenorphine already or on methadone or Subutex already. So it's a trifold. So there's information on 3 columns on 2 sides. Oh, here we go. So this just gives you an idea of what we're doing and again, looking at rooming in together, skin to skin. Now this baby, obviously, over here on the lower left is not skin to skin, but we talk about skin to skin. Okay. So again, this is looking at rooming in, decreasing length of stay, treatment options guidelines, treatment opioid use disorder and pregnancy, perinatal services. Again, this is British Columbia. I mean, they're the people who really started this, okay? And then Matt Grossman really published it. So having a dedicated staff, we have 4 rooms. We call it on the back side. It's the back side of a square. The nurse's station is on the front side. So there's a lot less going on in the environment. Improved communication. The mom fills out a diary. The nurse comes in, looks at the diary. So she's very aware when the baby eats, how the baby ate, when the baby went to sleep, when the baby woke up. So the mom writes this all down. Part of our research study that we're working on is doing a iPad. So doing all this on an iPad that then directly goes into the chart, and the nurse at the station can see exactly what's going on all the time, except, you know, when she does eyes on every 4 hours in the room, or doing rounding every 2 hours during the day and every 4 hours at night. Okay, so the one thing also that Davita Schiff and Howard, I can't remember her first name, they're in Boston. What they found is when the parents were at the bedside, the 100% of the time, the babies went home 9 days sooner, just by, that's all they looked at, were the parents at the bedside, okay? And medications, 8 fewer days. Any breastfeeding at all, they went home 5 days sooner. So this is my little grandbaby right after she was born, doing some skin to skin. She's now 4. This is Northern New England, perinatal quality improvement. And they pretty much, as far as their bundle of care, talk about all these things for the moms. So everybody's got a little bit different way of doing it. So you see Dartmouth, Boston Medical, and Yale, all 3 are involved. So poor eating due to NAS, I think one of the things is, or NOWs, don't include if it's due to non-opioid withdrawal, prematurity, inability to latch due to anatomic, or if the baby's in a normal transitional period. You know, some of those little babies, they snack, and they'll wake up again and they'll want to snack. And this is one of the things that does happen during transition. And so this is normal, so we should not be dinging our babies for that. Sleeping less than an hour due to NAS, fussiness. Don't include if they're exposed to nicotine, because remember that first 12 hours, babies are going to have difficulty. And then again, talking about the cluster feeding, that lactation consultants are just so on top of this. And then breastfeeding, is there a good latch, sustained suck, bottle, takes 1 ounce of formula. That was in the original document. And one of the things, again, we were discussing this at our meeting yesterday, is what we've done is we've changed the wording so that if you've got a baby in the first day of life, they're not going to, their little tummies can't take a whole ounce of formula. So we made the statement based on age in hours. So we've looked at this 1 ounce of formula, you know, like day 3, day 4, way out there. So we've qualified that. And then sleeping is 1 hour after a feeding, okay? After a feeding. So these are some of the criteria. And then this is the part of the diary. This goes several columns on a one sheet, but this is what the mom fills out. The nurse comes in, talks with the mom about this, and then what happens is, because it's paper, it gets scanned into the chart. And what we're hoping with our research project is this can directly go into the chart, so we don't have to have paper. Now, the other thing too is moms are not going to chart in Epic. I don't know what your computer program is, but nurses are going to document this diary in the computer program. So breastfeeding, we would love it if the moms would breastfeed. Some of the first data that Matt Grossman in Yale found is his breastfeeding rate, or I'm sorry, the mom's breastfeeding rate went 4 to 40% in this population. So it was huge. So ours is more like 60% currently. The other thing, if the mom's unable to breastfeed, consider a high calorie formula for the first week. They don't need to continue on that past a week. The other thing, if the baby's on a formula, having a formula that's been partially hydrolyzed, like Gentilese, or fully hydrolyzed, where the protein's broken down, the baby doesn't have to work as hard, and that would be Nutramigen would be considered for a baby who, for whatever reason, the mom is unable to breastfeed or use her milk. So always advocate for breastfeeding. Some moms will say, no, I'm not going to do that. I've never done it. My mom never did it, et cetera, et cetera. And then when the baby's rooting, when she's doing skin to skin, say, whoa, it looks like he's ready. So, but always the mom's decisions, because again, if there has been sexual abuse, specifically around the breasts, et cetera, that mom may not want to, and you cannot force her or push her. So there, I just told you about all these things. Okay, so acetylcholine, I said, is a culprit. It's not lactose. So this is one of the things we did in 2014. We just had a small unit for our babies, 4 beds. And then we went to, in May of 2019, single room. So the baby's in with the mom in a low lit, quiet part of we have the postpartum unit. Again, some units will do the pediatric units. Sometimes our pediatric units have closed. People have gotten really creative. In Toledo, oh my gosh, I think it's ProMedica. They were able to build across a skyway from their NICU and had a whole single room for moms. And I'm thinking, the luxury, that's like, that would be, you'd think you were in heaven to just be down the hall. So partial swaddle with flexion, so the baby has his hands out so he can suck and self-console. The biggest thing is the last thing here, safe sleep on their back and fall prevention in the baby's own bed. That is so incredibly important. We talk to moms about that because if they're doing skin to skin and they fall asleep, this is where the baby can also slip and fall out of the bed. And now we have a fall and way too much paperwork to do. So we don't want our babies to be harmed at all. So they definitely do sleep longer with skin to skin, kangaroo care. Moms felt positive about their contribution. These were moms who were in a treatment program. They felt their baby was theirs, that their baby really calmed to them, to their own heart rate, to their own voice. We coach in that, you know, he's heard you since about 24 weeks of your pregnancy. So he knows who you are more than any of us. So this is Harvey Karp's, the 5 S's, the shushing, the swaying, the swaddling, and the sucking. You can see that this baby's not too happy, but you also see that the mama there is really trying to cradle this little person's head. One of the things that might be also effective is to try and cradle the shoulders so that the hands are behind the shoulders with the head supported to get the shoulders bent, elbows bent, everything to get his hands or her hands in the midline to support the baby that way. It's kind of like an unswaddled position. And then sucking, non-nutritive sucking on their fingers or perhaps a pacifier if the mom so chooses. So the calming you see in the upper left hand, the baby is able to console in his own, so that'd be like a score of 1. On the upper right hand, baby's able to console with the caregiver support. And you see how the caregiver is trying to get the baby again into the midline. The baby started with nice flexion of the hips and nice flexion of the knees before the whole swaddle starts. And then you see number 3 with the dad. This little person is unable to console. This dad looks so calm, right? Within 10 minutes. So there's different as they get scored. Okay. All right. So flexion and very important. And you know what I need to do is just quickly plug in my computer. Hang on just a second. This really shows some nice flexion here using a boppy, and everything is flexed. Ankles, knees, everything. So there are other kinds of support providers, but the mom's best. The mom's the best. And this particular drawing comes from the Vancouver Island, which is Victoria, British Columbia. They've done a wonderful, it's called Baby Steps, and it's great. They use it for their foster parents and also for parents. So a lot of great ideas that are in there. So again, providing boundaries, something to suck on, always responding to their cries. It's very, very important. Now, we've got to be careful with motion devices. Careful. So that the babies, the moms don't put these babies in the motion devices and leave them there. They should not be sleeping in there. So again, having a sling is far better, but you do, these are expensive. One of the babies we had filmed at home. And so when we walked in, this little mama had already purchased a Mamaroo. I thought, whoa. So because they here they're probably about $250, and many of our moms can't afford this, but this is a mom who could. So I think one of the key things, if you have sound on this, it really should only be the ocean, okay? Not crickets, because the ocean sound is the only thing that we definitely, as far as noise or sound goes, have data to support its use. So this is the nursing staff in University of Arizona at Tucson, Banner Health. And these are babies who are in Eat, Sleeping, and Soul. And for some reason, the moms weren't available, so they just get them in the pack. They were doing their documentation. So. Being a healer, so being kind and open, curious. What about your other kids? How old are they? How are they going to, how's this going to be for them? Being curious, okay? Being present, humble, showing humility, and affirming what these moms are really, really working hard at. Deep down, they want to be moms. Sometimes when you're in the midst of substance use disorder, you're not in treatment. It's very, very difficult to do. So being open, listening, empathy, nodding, very, very important. One of the key things that was difficult for the NICU is to let go of those babies. And when Eat, Sleeping, and Soul first started, where I practiced, the NICU nurses came and cared for the mom and the baby together. It was fascinating. And then when the NICU population exploded, census went up, guess what? The mom baby nurses are going to be taking care of their babies. Are they going to do well? What? Oh my gosh. I mean, this is NICU nurse mentality. Okay. I have been there. Right. And again, ESC started in May. I was in filming in August, September. And to see my mom baby colleagues, what they were doing, I was so proud of them. It was, and again, you think of hierarchy in nursing, hierarchy between nurse and parent, but looking at hierarchy of nurse to nurse, we have to be careful. So we have to be humble and show humility. And then when we're with our moms, where is our attention? And it's hard if you have a phone on your hip and that phone goes off from a patient in another room. It's a distractor. And to be able to make that, you know, I'm with another mom, I'll be there as soon as I can, then go right back to the mom saying, I have a couple of other patients and et cetera, et cetera. So when you call, I want you to know, so you just turn it around. When you call, I want you to know I may be in with another mom, but I'll be here as soon as I can, so that you turn that around. But it is a distractor. Okay. Being in the present for our parents is very, very important. So imagining the possibilities. This is going to be, once you start this, once you move towards this, you are just going to see some outcomes that you never thought possible. So I just really applaud you that you're going to move in this direction, because one of the things that I've seen in my travels, Eat, Sleeping, and Soul is really something that we're seeing. I'm seeing it from the East Coast, West Coast, and then move into the central part of the country. So let me see if I can get back to, there we go. All right. Questions anybody has in the chat box.
So we had a comment earlier about somebody that said they thought it was a great idea with the iPad, and they have a lot of patients use apps on their phone. And then somebody else just said we should do this NAS baby with mom care. And I just want to point out, we actually just did this, Pat, with a patient who came in with chronic back pain on Percocet, and she did have her baby in the room. It was still considered a NICU admission, but we did keep them together for the majority of the stay. The NICU team opted to take them as a couplet. Okay.
And that's very common. I mean, you can see all kinds of mixes of care models that occur. I see it integrated in many different ways throughout the country. I think that one of the places where it's really benefited is in very small community hospitals. I was working with a group in upstate New York last year, and they would always have to transfer all their babies out because it's once you start on the morphine, you know, they really did. That's why they started in the NICU, is for the morphine. And if we're decreasing morphine, there's no real valid reason to really be in a NICU unless you're on morphine. And I think for us in the state of Washington, we're really going to see payment change once all of the hospitals get the education on board, once they see that you can decrease the having to fly a baby out for this and have the mom and the baby together. But in upstate New York, they said we tried it. And the first time we did, the mom and the dad were so appreciative of how everything worked out. It was really nice to see that they were successful, just as you've been successful, before you even integrate the whole program.
That's all that's in the chat.
All right. I think it's the top of the hour. It's 1 minute after, so I think that we've accomplished what we need to. And as far as your agenda goes, yeah, we're good. So thank you so much, and thank you, Mary, for facilitating this. So I'm glad to be able to see some of your faces, and thank you so much for your comments, especially the one that Kratom is at the convenience store. So now I know, okay, over there north of New York City, Westchester County, Kratom is there. So that we all become aware of it and think about asking the question about Kratom, especially if we see a baby going through withdrawal and there's just absolutely no history. Mom has no history, etc. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing your morning with us, and I'm going to hand it over.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Mary. That was really great. And as Mary alluded to, we're going to be part of the New York State program. There's a big initiative and research project going on about opioid use disorder and the neonatal abstinence. So we'll shoot you any information we learn.
Perfect. That'd be great.
I'm going to let Ivy speak a little bit about getting CEUs. So stand by.
Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Fran, do you mind?
Yes.
So thank you so much, Maureen. So I would love to give you guys your CEUs that you deserve. And so in order to do that, you need to complete your the eval. So I sent you guys all emails. So you're going to double click on that PDF. And when you double click on the PDF, this PDF is now writable. So for example, you can just do an X there and an X there, so on and so forth. So it really shouldn't take too long to fill all of this out. 9 and 10 says if yes, please list one change or one barrier. And I would just ask you to write it down here where it's a larger text box. When you're all done, all you have to do is click submit by email, and then default email application to Microsoft Outlook. It will automatically connect to your email. Just hit continue, and it already predetermines the email towards me, and then you would hit send. So if you guys have any questions, I think we can dedicate 5 minutes to this, and then we'll pick this back up at 11:10. As soon as you email me, I will send you your certificate of completion. Any questions?
This doesn't, it just says PDF. Wait, hold on.
I have a question. How am I supposed to, how are we to click on these things, Ivy?
Yes, so you're gonna go onto your email.
Yeah, I'm on the email.
Perfect, and then double click on the PDF.
Which I did.
And then it should populate the PDF,
Mhm.
and then you can write within it. So,
Oh.
here it's for speakers, you would just type inside of it.
Oh, I don't know that that's coming up on here. And I'm
Ivy, did you get my second attempt at this?
It was you didn't attach anything. So I think you're Enid, you're just emailing me back. You have to, the easiest way to do it is to just click submit by email. Because if you don't, you would have to save it to your desktop, complete it, then attach the PDF to an email. And that's harder. So that's why I added this submit by email. So once you're done, you don't have to even save it. You just click submit by email. And then it populates you sending it back to me.
All right, I'm going to try it again.
Sure.
I can't write on it, Ivy. This is Rosabelle.
What's happening on your end, Rosabelle?
I double clicked it and I am on the survey. I tried to click on the.
Are you on your phone maybe?
Yeah, I'm on my
I'm on
phone.
the phone too.
Maybe that's what it is. So no worries. You do have, according to Northwell, up to 3 months to submit me this completed survey. So I'll just have you submit it afterward.
Okay, I'll do it at work
Spell
tomorrow.
her name.
Thank you.
S-H-O.
All right, I'm going to have to do that too, Ivy. It's Enid.
Yeah, I will do the same because I can't get it from my iPad.
How do I spell her last name? S-H-O.
G-A-N.
G-A-N. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. For those who want to do it now, we have 3 more minutes and then we'll continue with the agenda.
Okay. And you were supposed to put today's date in? The 15th?
Yes.
Yes, you got it. Today's date.
Okay, I think I actually got this. All right, I'm gonna send this, Ivy. And then where does it say submit now?
Up on the upper right.
Huh?
Upper right.
Oh, okay, got it. Did you get it?
Let me just double check.
So just hit submit by email.
I haven't gotten it as of yet. Sometimes it takes a couple, like a minute or so for it to come through.
Okay.
Ivy, do we need to save before we send?
I am double checking. Yours came through completely. Colleen, you sent it to me, but it came through blank. Lorraine, did you save it?
I didn't.
Perfect. Yeah, yours came through.
Did you get mine? It's Trace.
I got yours fully filled out. Yes.
How about mine? Stephanie.
Stephanie still hasn't come through.
Huh.
I don't know if it's maybe like the phone.
Yeah, it's on the phone.
Fran, I got yours. Thanks. I feel like those auctioneers. I got yours. Yep. Keep it coming.
Huh.
Thank you for incorporating the ESC into this MCH day, because Northwell is in the process, as you all know, with a new guideline regarding NOWS now. So this lecture about ESC is very, very informative. Thank you so much.
Ivy, did you get mine? It's Ina.
Not as of yet.
Okay.
And it's 11:10, and I don't want to take too much more time for this, so I'm going to hand it back over to Tracy.
Thank you, Ivy. Actually, that was such a great presentation, but I don't know about you, but I've been sipping my coffee. So why doesn't everybody take a, let's say 15-minute break and meet back here just before 11:30, okay?
Okay.
All right, enjoy.
Let me see if I could do it on here. Oh.
Hey guys, and welcome to our presentation.
Tracy, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Lovey, what's up?
I got the email saying that we can schedule our appointments for the vaccine,
You did, good.
and it says Phelps is available, but there's no dates available.
Yeah, you're not the first person to call to tell me that. We don't know what that glitch is about, so Maria Hale is all over it. So just stand by, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I missed the answer. My computer is not working right. What was your answer, Tracy?
Rosabelle, there's a glitch and they're working on it.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, one more minute. Get your coffee, have a seat. Okay, is everybody back?
I'm not. I guess I'll go back to my.
Oh, Mary's not back. She's going to get a tardy. Look at Anya's dog. So cute. I can't stand it. Anyway, thanks to Lisa Serio and Andrea Booth. We're going to start our next presentation, which is on safe sleep. I'm going to share it with you. So please tell me right in the chat if you can't hear it. Okay. Enjoy.
Hey guys, and welcome to our presentation on safe sleep. My name is Lisa Serio, and I am presenting along with Andrea Booth. Hey guys, and welcome to our presentation on safe sleep. My name is Lisa Serio, and I am presenting along with Andrea Booth.
We will begin by discussing the problem, the infant sleep-related death. This happens suddenly and unexpectedly, and is when an otherwise healthy baby is found in the sleep area with no clear cause of death before investigation. We will begin by discussing the problem, the infant sleep-related death. This happens suddenly and unexpectedly, and is when an otherwise The tragic facts are that this is the leading cause of death in infants between 1 month and 1 year, peaking from the age of 1 to 4 months of life. Greater than 3,500 kids die each year from sleep-related deaths, and many of them can be prevented. The tragic facts are that this is the leading cause.
5. Keep your baby sleep area close but separate from where you sleep. Your baby should never sleep in a bed or a couch. Your baby should sleep in the same room as you. 6. Giving a clean and dry pacifier. Hey guys, and welcome to our presentation on safe sleep. My name is Lisa Serio, and I am presenting along with Andrea Booth. Hey guys, and welcome.
We will begin by discussing the problem, the infant sleep-related death. This happens suddenly and unexpectedly, and is when an otherwise healthy baby is found in the sleep area with no clear cause of death before investigation. We will begin by discussing the problem, the infant sleep-related death. This happens suddenly and unexpectedly, and is when tragic facts are that this is the leading cause of death in infants between 1 month and 1 year, peaking from the age of 1 to 4 months of life. Greater than 3,500 kids die each year from sleep-related deaths, and many of them can be prevented. The tragic facts.
So how do we protect our babies? 1. Always place the baby on their back to sleep. Back is best. Stomach sleeping can cause an upper airway obstruction and increases the risk of overheating. The side position is unstable and usually leads to stomach sleeping. 2. Place your baby on a firm sleep surface with tight-fitting sheets. Sleep surface does matter. Never place your baby to sleep on pillows, quilts, or any other soft surfaces. 3. Keep loose bedding, stuffed animals, and toys out of the baby's sleep area. Do not use bumpers. Nothing but the baby should be in the sleep area. 4. No smoking around your baby. 5. Keep your baby's sleep area close but separate from where you sleep. Your baby should never sleep in a bed or a couch. Your baby should sleep in the same room as you. 6. Giving a clean and dry pacifier at sleep time is another way. They have been shown to be protective against SIDS. This pacifier use is after breastfeeding has been established if the mom chooses to breastfeed her baby.
It is extremely important for parents to understand that the baby must sleep on its back only, on a firm surface, even for naps.
Some parents may ask, when can my baby sleep on their stomach? And the answer is once a baby can roll over well, the parents do not have to reposition the baby if he or she turns while sleeping. There are two important things to remember here. 1, every time you put down the baby for sleep, you place the baby on their back. And 2, when they do roll over, they need to be doing so in a safe environment that is free from any unsafe items. Does putting a baby on their back to sleep really work? The answer is yes. Before 1992, there were 8,000 infant sleep deaths every single year. In 1992, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended that infants be placed on their backs to sleep. After 2000, with the Back to Sleep campaign, there are approximately 3,500 deaths each year. This is still too many. Does putting a baby on their back to You may ask, is swaddling safe? Swaddling has not been shown to reduce the risk of SIDS. Swaddling is great though with calming fussy babies and for keeping babies on their backs. Swaddling must be done correctly to avoid possible hazards, including overheating, face covering, and abnormal hip development. If you swaddle, you must follow safe sleep practices and discontinue your swaddle as soon as your baby starts to try to roll over. You may ask, So what's our goal? Our goal is to become a gold certified safe sleep hospital, to become a partner with Cribs for Kids, and to obtain funding to be able to provide more safe sleep education for families, a Halo sleep sack for each baby after birth to take home as a gift, and a cribette to those families in need of a safe place for their baby to sleep. So what's our goal? And we have realized We've recently had an event with a patient that forced us to look closely at our safe sleep practices. We've recently had an event with a patient that forced us to look closely at our safe sleep practices. A patient went home and was not practicing safe sleep and unfortunately ended in an infant death. We have analyzed data on 50 cribs in our nursery and we have realized that we need to practice what we preach. We will now be adding in the question of safe sleep into our admission intervention so we can assess the needs of our patients for their safe sleep environment. It is our hope that any family in true need of a safe sleep environment will be able to be provided with a cribette through our community outreach program. The OB Navigator will also be discussing safe sleep in their prenatal interviews. Safe sleep must become a priority in our education throughout the entire hospital stay. We hope you enjoyed our presentation on safe sleep, and we are very excited to reach our goal. If you have any questions, please contact Lisa or myself.
All right, so a little technologically disadvantaged I am, but I want to give huge kudos to both Andrea and Lisa for putting this together for us. And as they did mention, we are in fact trying to become a certified safe sleep hospital. I know that they went before the Innovation Fund to try to get some funding for cribettes to give out, and for Halo Sacks is to replace our onesie gift because they support the Safe Sleep Initiative. I was actually surprised, I was actually surprised to find that there are quite a few families out there that Lorraine is speaking to who are either not aware of the safe sleep process and procedures, or really honestly cannot have or can't afford a crib and have planned to have their babies sleeping in the bed with them and their partner. Lorraine, do you have anything you want to add to the safe sleep presentation?
I just wanted to add that we have now started a grandparent class, and Fran has been sharing this information in the grandparent class, the safe sleep education. And that is a huge eye opener to grandparents because these are practices they're not used to. So really the whole idea of this program, aside from providing the cribs, is really to just touch as many people as we can with this information, with this education. And, you know, we're going in the right direction, and there's a, you know, great reception with this information.
Is there a lot of grandparents going to this?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I believe the first class was in October. Is that right, Megan?
I think it was in September.
Or September, but yeah.
November.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good interest in the class.
I think the opportunity with the grandparents is that quite a few of the grandparents are watching these babies, and maybe what was the education at the time or the trends at the time don't necessarily apply to today, and they think, well, you know, I raised my kids and they lived to be full maturity, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right thing to do now. So I think the grandparents are really being enlightened by these classes. Fran's been doing a great job, and I think it's an important population of people to educate as well as the parents.
What exactly is a cribette versus like a regular crib?
It's more like a pack and play. So it's more affordable for us to be able to give patients if they need a safe sleep environment for their patients. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions about safe sleep? If not, we're going to move on to our next topic. Unfortunately, as you all may have already heard, Stacy Murphy lost her sister unexpectedly. But Stacy Murphy and Barbara Rome went to New York State and became certified car seat safety officer checkers, for lack of a better description. Barbara, I'm sure you'll do better. But Barbara's
certified passenger safety technicians.
There you go. So she's going to speak to us about car seats. Barb, take it away. Thank you.
Okay, so the National Traffic Safety Administration, along with the American Academy of Pediatrics, recommends that all infants are ride rear facing with their first ride home from the hospital and remain in that rear facing position until they've reached the highest weight and height allowed by their car seat manufacturer. There's a lot that goes into car seats. We spent 3 full days learning all the ins and outs about the car seats. And then on our 4th day, did car seat inspections. So I'm just the best practices, that is the best practice, to have that child rear facing as long as possible. There's a lot of reasons why caregivers claim to want to turn the car seat around. However, every time people think it's a promotion to have their child, you know, go to the next step. It's really, when we think of car seat safety, it is a demotion, because every time we go to the next step, we lose a layer of protection. Legal minimums versus best practices. So now here in New York State, the legal minimum is that all children are rear facing until they're 2 years old. I'm gonna talk a little bit about misuses. Believe me, there's lots of misuses that happen. 84%, they did a study that showed that around 84% of car seats have some type of misuse. And then I'll discuss a little bit about the children with special needs, especially the preemies leaving the hospital, and where you can get resources. So the gold standard is that when these children leave the hospital, they should be rear facing until they reach the height and weight for the car seat. I told you the National Traffic Safety Administration, along with the American Academy of Pediatrics, both recommend that they stay rear facing. So you guys pretty much see the rear facing only car seats, which are the infant seat or the convertible car seat. You know the difference because the infant seat has the handle and a convertible car seat does not. A 3-in-1 actually goes from an infant to a forward-facing to a booster seat. And the choices for having either a 3-in-1 or a convertible, as opposed to buying an infant seat and then having to buy a forward-facing seat, is that obviously the expense. You only need 1 car seat as opposed to 3 different car seats. And there are differences. So rear-facing only seats, or the infant seats that you most commonly see, they're used for infants up to 22 to 35 pounds, and it just depends on the manufacturer of the car seat, and 26 to 35 inches, like I said, depending on the model. They're small, they're easy to carry. They usually have a base, that the base gets installed in the vehicle. As opposed to the convertible, it can be used rear facing until the child meets the height and weight requirements by the manufacturer, and then forward facing once again until the child reaches, and it's usually up to about 50 pounds before they convert them into a booster seat. They are not to be in a booster seat until they're 4 years old. So they're to be in a forward facing car seat up until the age of 4. And the 5-point harness, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Ideally, even when they're in the booster seat, that 5-point harness is always a good thing to have.
When one vehicle collides with another vehicle or object, the damages go far beyond bent metal or broken headlights. There are actually 3 stages of a typical collision. Each stage is unique and occurs quickly. The higher the speed, the more severe the outcome. The vehicle itself is the first to take the impact of a collision. Coming to an abrupt stop, the vehicle buckles and bends. This all happens in about 1/10 of a second. Following the vehicle crash is the human crash. The occupants hit some part of the vehicle, hopefully the safety belt and airbags. If the occupants are not wearing safety belts, they will continue traveling at the same speed as the vehicle was traveling, slamming into the dashboard, windshield, or some other part of the vehicle's interior. They may even collide with other passengers. When the occupant's body has come to an apparent stop, the internal organs are still moving, hitting other organs or bones in the body. This internal crash, though silent and not visible to the naked eye, can cause fatal injuries. Statistically, it's highly likely that you will be involved in several collisions during your lifetime. If you're lucky, the only damage sustained will be to your vehicle. Remember, a preventable collision is a collision in which the driver fails to do everything reasonable to avoid it.
So car crashes are the #1 killer of children, and besides the mortality, it does cause significant morbidity and economic loss for people as well. So the rear-facing car seats, how they prevent injury, they really do support the head, neck, and spine. It is the best protection for the head, neck, and spine. The harness is the secondary containment that keeps the child in the seat. The head, neck, and torso are supported and kept in alignment by the restraint system.
Every year, many car accidents take place at speeds of 50 kilometers an hour. Children are especially at risk, and correct positioning of the child's safety seats is therefore very important. We will now take a look at what happens if your child is sitting forward-facing in a frontal collision. If the child is sitting forward-facing in a frontal collision, this exerts huge forces on the shoulder and neck regions, as well as on the child's head. This can lead to death or permanent injuries, as paralysis. If your child is sitting rear-facing during a collision, the force will be spread over a greater area of the body, and there'll be less pressure on the neck, head, and inner organs. If your child sits rear-facing instead of forward-facing, this reduces the risk of serious injuries and death by more than 90%. Children should therefore be seated rear-facing as long as possible, or until they are 4 years old.
Obviously, that's not here, that's in Europe till 4, but really ideally as long as possible. The other thing with that rear-facing car seat, when they install the car seat, anybody know what the safest position or safest spot in the car is?
The middle?
The middle seat. So, you know, obviously if you have, you know, more than one child, there is going to have to be a child that is on one of the side backseat passenger side or driver side. However, the middle seat is the safest seat. Not all cars have the ability to restrain a child in the middle seat, and so therefore the second best spot would be either the backseat passenger or driver side. Because of that side impact, that's really why that middle seat is the best. The other thing, if they are behind the passenger or the front seat, the front seat should never be butt up against the car seat. There should be at least a hand or two in between the car seat and that front seat, because that front seat will come back and actually could crush the car seat. So best practices, keeping the child rear facing until at least 2 years of age or longer if possible. A lot of parents think that, you know, there's a potential for a leg to be broken or, you know, injury to the lower extremities. However, injuries to the lower extremities are much better than injuries to the head, neck, or spine. If using infant seat, transition to rear-facing convertible when they outgrow the height and weight for the infant seat. Remember that infant seat is going to have the least height and weight, so they'll be out of that quicker than the convertible seat. And then use the convertible seat in rear-facing position until child reaches, like I said, the height and weight limits for the manufacturer. The harness is that secondary component that keeps the child safe. It needs to be properly fitted for the child. It has the straps that go over both the shoulders, both hips, and then buckles at the crotch. The car seat label will tell you what the height and weight range of the harness is. And it's important that parents do check that regularly because children outgrow it rapidly. So as the child grows, the proper placement of the shoulder straps on a rear-facing car seat is the shoulder strap should come through the car seat slot at or just below the shoulders. In a forward-facing, it's at or just slightly above the shoulders. And so it's important that parents know that they need to adjust the straps as the child grows. To make sure that the child is properly in the car seat, the head should never be at the top of the car seat. It should be at least 1 inch below the car seat. That is what's going to protect them in a collision. The harness slot should be at or below the baby's shoulders, which we said. You need to make sure that that retainer clip or the chest clip is at the level of the armpits. Another common misuse is that it's lower down. Some of the common misuses are that either the seatbelt isn't secured in tight or that the harness itself is too loose. And so when the children are leaving the hospital, we want to make sure that they're correctly in that car seat. You want to make sure, we're coming into the winter months, make sure that they do not put the child in the car seat with a bulky coat on. The recommendation is to harness the child in the car seat without the coat, then take the child out, put the coat on, and put the child in the car seat without adjusting it. Because there's a lot of air that happens in those bulky coats, and that will make the the actual harness loose in a collision. And then the other really important thing is don't attach anything that didn't come with the car seat to the infant seat or car seat. You'll see parents attach all these fancy little toys. They have these beautiful little mirrors that they place over the headrest of the back seat so that they can see the baby. I have a little video clip that talks about this, but anything that's attached to the car seat that did not come with the car seat can become trajectory in the event of a collision, and it could potentially cause harm. The other common mistake that people make are they, in order to protect their car, they put these fancy mats underneath the car seat. Unless the mat came with your car seat, it has not been crash tested with that car seat, and so then, or with that mat. And so it should never have anything that was not intended to be there. This is the pinch test to know whether the child is harnessed correctly with the 5-point harness.
With your child sitting properly in the car seat, try to pinch the strap of your child's shoulder. If you can pinch the strap, tighten the harness and try again. If you can't pinch the strap, you've passed the pinch test.
And so when the babies are leaving, we need to make sure that the parents know how to do that so that their child is correctly harnessed in. Some of the other things that we look for when the parents bring in their car seat is we're looking to make sure that the car seat isn't outdated, especially if they've gotten a hand-me-down car seat. All car seats have an expiration date. You can usually find it on the bottom of the car seat. So you actually have to flip the car seat over. I have a sticker up there in the right upper part of the box up there. This car seat was manufactured in 2011 and it expires in 2017. Also, too, if the car seat has been in an accident, parents need to call the manufacturer of the car seat. Usually, they'll give them they'll give them a certificate to give to their insurance company and be able to get a new car seat. All car seats are federally meet federal guidelines. And so when parents are out shopping for a car seat or they've gotten a car seat as a gift, you want to make sure that the car seat, it meets those federal guidelines. There should be a sticker on the car seat that says that it does meet the guidelines. There are a lot of knockoff car seats that do not meet the federal guidelines. The other thing we're looking at when we look at the car seat in the car is we're making sure that the angle is the proper angle for the rear facing car seat. The angle for that is about 45 degrees. All car seats today come with some type of leveling system, so you know whether the car seat is properly, it has the proper angle. You're also looking at the stickers to make sure that the child meets the height and weight requirements for that car seat. So this car seat is a convertible car seat. It's nice because you can use it as an infant or rear facing, and then when the child's ready to be forward facing, you have a forward facing one. And it tells us what the height and weight is. I know you guys can't see it on the sticker, but it will tell me what the maximum height and weight requirements are for the rear facing child. I already told you about the winter coat. Just make sure that they don't, there's fancy little buntings you can get that go over the car seats. They could put a blanket over the car seat, but they really should not have anything bulky when they're harnessing the child into the car seat.
Safety always comes first, especially when we're dealing with our kids. Certified child safety technician and founder of Todd Squad, Jennifer Beal-Saxton, is here to chat about keeping your kids safe in the car. And Jennifer, we make a lot of mistakes. What do we need to know?
So I think one of the things that I see new parents doing a lot is they're working on their baby registry and they see all of these cute accessories that look really fun and adorable, but they're not always safe to use in the car. So I just want to give a couple of tips for things you might want to avoid when you're dealing with the car seat. The first one is vehicle seat protectors. So this is most often a problem with dads who want to protect their first baby, the car. And they're really worried about the car seat damaging the vehicle, so they get this little vehicle seat protector. But those can actually interfere with the installation of the car seat. And so if it's too loose in the car, then your child can be hurt in an accident. So you want to make sure that when you are using a vehicle seat protector, if you have to use one, that you're using one that matches the brand of your car seat. So if you have a Britax car seat, you want a Britax seat protector. If you have a Diono car seat, get a Diono seat protector.
If it's something really important to you, you want to preserve that leather or whatever, make sure you're getting the one that's compatible with that baby seat.
I mean, you've got to be careful because the boxes will say crash tested on them. And so many cars have been through, all car seats have been through crash testing, and they have to be crash tested with any accessories that are approved to use with them. And so even though it says crash tested, it doesn't mean it was actually crash tested with your car seat. And you have to be really careful, especially anything that attaches to the car seat, because if that accessory has not been crash tested with your vehicle seat, with your car seat, then it could invalidate the warranty of your car seat. And if you're in an accident, the car seat manufacturer is going to say, you know, we have no liability because we don't know how that accessory impacted the functionality of your seat. And it's really important with hard toys that can become projectiles. So an iPad weighs almost 2 pounds. And when you're in an accident, you multiply the weight of that toy times the speed. So a 2-pound iPad times 50 miles an hour means you might be getting hit with 100 pounds of force in an accident. That can kill you or your kid.
With all those dangling toys, they become projectile objects in any sort of accident, essentially?
Anything. So I even tell parents, make sure you're putting your cell phone in your glove compartment. Put your purse, if you have an SUV, use that back cover so that all of your loose objects in the car are not flying forward in an accident.
Now, I know some parents are saying, I want to protect my child, but we have to do something. Like, I can't just leave them back there. So can they just do soft toys or?
Yeah, absolutely. Soft toys are okay. We call it the ouch test. You know, if you kind of like hit yourself on the head with it a little bit and it hurts, don't use it in the car. Stick to stuffed animals, small toys that are really lightweight.
This is just, you know, misuse with a forward-facing car seat. You can actually see the child come out of the car seat and then back into it. Oops. So best practices, keep the child rear facing as long as possible to the limits of the car seat. After rear facing car seat is outgrown, you use a forward facing car seat with that 5-point harness to that maximum limits of that car seat. After the 5-point harness is outgrown, there's booster seats. Some booster seats do still come with the 5-point harness. But they also have booster seats that allow the child to, it brings the child up so that the adult seatbelt will fit the child correctly. Really important that parents do not buckle their children, their small children, into just the seatbelt. They actually go, if you look at what happens to them with just an adult seatbelt on, because this adult seatbelt doesn't fit properly, they're actually forced out of that seat, you know, underneath the seatbelt in a collision. Keep kids out of the front seat until teenage years. And so they are mandated now by New York state law to be in a booster seat until their 8th birthday, or they meet the height and weight requirements. And then they must be in the back seat until they're 17 years old. Now in New York State, all backseat passengers must wear a seatbelt. Really important, so it's not a graduation, it's a demotion. They need to be rear facing to forward facing for height and weight requirements, 5-point harness to booster, and then booster to an adult seatbelt. So why, you know, it's important for us to think about why parents aren't properly restraining their child. Like I said, a lot of parents like those fancy little mirrors. I do the safety class for the parents, and you know, they constantly say, but how am I supposed to see my child if I don't hang that mirror over the seat? really important that they understand that that could potentially be, come off of that seat in a collision and could potentially harm the baby. Like I said, studies show that, there hasn't been significant injuries to the lower extremities by keeping them rear facing with the feet touching the back of the seat. It's important to give them this information and let them know. So New York state law, less than 4 must ride in a child restraint seat with a 5-point harness. Children ages 4, 5, 6, and 7 must ride an appropriate booster seat for their height and weight. And then adults and children are required to be belted in the back seat. And there's no prohibitions on front seat usage. So rear-facing car seats should never be placed in the front seat, especially with the airbag activated. If a child needs to be placed in a front seat, they should push the front seat all the way to the back, as far back as it will go. Like I said, the recommendations are no rear-facing car seats in the front seat. Children with special health care needs. So it's really important, if they can, to use a conventional car seat. When that's not possible, there are car seats that are modified to meet special needs children. Never modify a car seat on your own. Even minor modifications will compromise the performance of the car seat. Take a team approach and list some other, part of our multidisciplinary team to determine how best to meet the child's needs. And I know you guys in the NICU, this is actually what you guys do, but for the premature babies, sometimes you have to modify the car seat. The head rolls on this baby in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a lot of parents using those rolls that did not come with the car seat. Really important that if it didn't come with the car seat, they shouldn't be using it. I know with the preemies, they have to modify it in order to keep their head straight, but for a normal child, you should never add anything to the car seat that did not come. Sometimes they have to make special recommendations. Children in spica casts can't sit normally in the car seats. If a child has poor tone or unable to keep upright, sometimes they have to think of alternative ways to transport the child, such as car beds for those children. So with the preemies, they're going to do a car seat tolerance screening for the neonates. They want to make sure that the harness fits properly and that they have the appropriate angle in the vehicle to support the head and neck. So the car seats tolerance screening, any baby that has a gestational age of 36 plus 6 or a weight equal to or less than 2,500 grams must get a car seat tolerance screening. Infants at risk of apnea, bradycardia, or oxygen desaturation who may be unable to tolerate an upright position in a car seat. Those kids with neuromuscular disorders, airway abnormalities, chronic lung disease, oral maxillofacial disorders, or our kids with congenital cardiac disorders would require that. Other infants at the discretion of the doctor, if the doctor feels they should have a car seat tolerance screening before they leave. Any mother positive maternal urine toxicology for opiates needs a car seat tolerance screening. In order to do it, you need the car seat from the parent or caregiver. It has to have that 5-point harness on it. It has to be able to be rear facing, and it must meet the baby's height and weight requirements. Remember, on the side of the car seat will tell you what the height and weight requirements are. You need a pulse oximetry and you need cardiac monitoring. So you're going to inspect the car seat. You're going to make sure that it's not expired. You're going to make sure that it meets the federal guidelines. You are going to put place the cardiac leads on the child and put a pulse oximetry probe on the infant.
Barb?
Yes.
Barb, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because Kathy Manley Cullen wanted to actually just say 2 words or a couple of seconds, and she's got to jump onto another call. Kathy, if you're on, please go ahead.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? You can hear me, Tracy?
Yep, absolutely. And we can see you. Yay.
Excellent. Barbara, I'm so sorry. You're doing such a great job. I was
okay.
learning a lot from you. But I did want to, I've been listening for a little while, and I did want to just jump on and say hello to all of you and really thank you for the amazing work that you've been doing. We've been living through unprecedented times with this pandemic. It does not go unnoticed. All of the great work that you have all been doing for our patients, for moms, for babies, dads, families. I am so impressed by the projects that you're rolling out. They're so innovative in terms of safety for babies. And I look forward to working with your team and the Innovation Fund to get the funding that we need to get these programs started. Just on topic of all things COVID, because everyone always has a million questions about that, I did just want to let you know that vaccinations are rolling out in different phases. Some team members will have gotten emails about it. There's some issues going on with it. Our team members are already pre-scheduled. A lot of questions, a lot of confusion. We're trying to work with the system. We'll get it all straightened out. So if everyone could just take a deep breath about everything that's going on around that. Everyone will be taken care of. Everyone that wants a vaccination will get a vaccination. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. We did have the very first nurse in the country vaccinated yesterday in Queens, a Northwell nurse. So, again, as the first wave of vaccination is over at Phelps, we're hoping to get some here in coming weeks. But if you do get an email and it asks you to get vaccinated, if you've gotten that already, just work with your managers to get that done. Any questions you have, raise them to your managers and they'll take it back to me and we'll try and work through the system. So that's my little blurb. There's also employee testing and family testing is going live tomorrow down at Chappaqua Crossing Center for Healthy Living. So all good things for team members. That's my little soundbite on COVID for today. But again, really impressed that you were able to pull this together and really all get together. So again, thank you for everything that you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you all when we're through the other side of this. But keep up the great work. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you.
Okay, so place the leads on and the pulse ox on the baby. Test should be initiated within 30 minutes of feeding. Place the car seat on a level ground. Floor is the safest place. Put the car seat. Recline the seat to a 45-degree angle. Remember, there's indicators on the car seats, all of the car seats. Sometimes it's a level. Sometimes there's little arrows that you have to, place within certain marks. Place infant securely in the car seat. Obtain baseline vital signs and oxygenation on the baby. Monitor the infant for 90 minutes or length of anticipated travel after discharge, whichever is the longest. If the baby passes, you document the completion, vital signs, and results in the electronic health record and give parents certificate that the baby passed. If they fail, any one of the following would constitute a failed test. If their heart rate is less than 80 for greater than 20 seconds, if their oxygen falls below 90 for greater than 20 seconds with a good waveform, if known cardiac disease and you have a low baseline O2 sat, newborn would fail if the O2 sat decreased by greater than 5% of their baseline for greater than 20 seconds. And any apnea greater than 20 seconds would constitute a failure. If it's a well baby that failed the test, you're going to repeat the test after 24 hours. If they fail the second test, they're going to be transferred to the NICU for workup. If it's a NICU baby, you're going to have a conversation with the doctor to determine if the baby needs any additional workup. If no workup is indicated, then you're going to repeat the test in 24 hours. After the third failure in the car seat, a car bed should be considered. And then you're going to document all your past failures in your electronic health record, document all heart rates below 80 and duration of O2 sats, and duration, O2 sats greater than 90%, and their duration, and any apneas and their duration as well. So number one, caregiver mistake, failure to read directions. I think this is not just caregivers, everybody. Really important when they bring their car seats in, we make sure that they have their car manual and their car seat manual. Car seats nowadays come with two different types of ways to restrain the car seat in the car, either a latching system or a seat belt. Another number one mistake parents make is they always think more is better, so they use both the latch and the seat belt. It's typically not recommended. You have to look in both the car seat manual and the car manual, but most cars do not recommend using both the latch system and a seatbelt. It's one or the other. Remember, these are crash tested based on the car seat, that car seat. And so it's not crash tested with both. It does interfere with one or both of those locking systems. And so making sure that we instruct the parents to do that as well.
So where and how are these things being sold that are knockoffs?
So you can find them on mass retail websites like Amazon because they have third-party sellers through their marketplace offerings, and websites you've never heard of, right, that might be advertised to you on social media. So you'll see an ad on your Facebook feed that looks like a legit car seat, but it's really coming from a company in China.
Obviously, you're going to go through what we need to look out for so we don't become a part of this. I'll call it a scam, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it
it's
a
definitely
scam?
a scam.
Because they're pretending to be something they're not.
Absolutely. They're pretending to be safety devices. I mean, one of the number one causes of death for children is car accidents. And if you think about putting your child in a fake car seat, it's absolutely terrifying.
Can we do a little comparison of real versus knockoff?
Absolutely. So this car seat is actually a booster seat, and most booster seats you've seen before kind of raise your child up so that the seatbelt fits them. This one is something that helps the seatbelt fit to your child. So this is the real one. It's called a MyFold. It's great. It fits in your pocket. You can put it in your kid's backpack for a carpool. And this is the fake one. And it's just such a cheap plastic. You can kind of, I could probably almost break it. In fact, it's kind of breaking right now while I do that. But instead of steel inside these seatbelt guides, there's just stickers. You can kind of see the sticker is peeling off on this.
And this is supposed to protect your child. The force of an accident is a lot more than
oh my gosh, there you have it.
That didn't take much.
Yeah, imagine going 60 miles an hour down the freeway with a child in the backseat. So it's really scary because these guides aren't even locked in securely. Increase the risk your child's going to submarine, which is when they slide underneath the seatbelt.
Wow.
So you absolutely don't want that. You could be ejected from the vehicle. It's very scary.
And let's move on then to other knockoff versus real.
Yeah, so this is another really cool product. It's a car seat and stroller combo. It's called the Duna. And on the Chinese fake version, which is right here, the black one, you can see there's no chest clip, which is something that's standard on every car seat that meets federal regulations here in the United States. And even on the labels, you can see that they're written in Chinese. And the sides of the car seat don't even have the brand name written on it. So it's absolutely terrifying to see the crash test video of this car seat because it starts to just collapse, and the child's rotation of their body
let's roll
is so
that
damaging.
so everyone can see.
You can see the plastic base, it just starts to break apart completely as this car seat is falling apart.
It is very scary because parents, they think they're doing the right thing and they think they're just saving a little money. But I would say if you want to save some money or you don't have money for a car seat, know that there are a lot of programs that give reduced price or even free car seats. And also, if you want to know if you're picking up something reliable, you can actually go to the website for the American Academy of Pediatrics, and they have a list on their website so that you can know that the car seat that you are picking is safe and approved for use in the United States.
Exactly. And it should come with a registration card in it. You know, it says postage, prepaid. You want to mail that back anytime you purchase a car seat because they are called frequently. So you want to be notified immediately. But if you're getting a car seat and it doesn't have that registration card in it, that's another red flag that maybe you've accidentally purchased a knockoff, because you might be paying 50% of the price thinking you're getting 90% of the safety value. But as we just saw in that crash value, you're getting 0% of the safety protection for your child.
Is there something to be said before we go to buying safety products from a verifiable source? You know, and I want to use Amazon as an example where a lot of us go buy things. But if I go into a store that I know, that store has a responsibility to make sure the products they're selling are up to
legit.
snuff.
Yeah, I've never seen a fake car seat for sale in person. I think it's only happening online. So it's a great tip to people if you're buying a car seat. Not only can you have the benefit of being able to try it in your vehicle, make sure it fits your child and your car before you walk away with it, but you know that you're getting a legit product from one of those brick and mortar stores. And then when you're shopping online, make sure that the seller, even if you are on a mass retail website where you know the name brand, that there's a lot of reviews, right? Because if you're seeing one with only 2 or 3 reviews, that might be a red flag. Or you might even notice that the shipping lead time is like 6 weeks before it's going to arrive. That's usually another red flag that the product might be coming from China.
Prime.
That's not Amazon
Be
Prime.
aware, Jennifer, thank you so much. Good stuff.
So if you have any questions about the car seats, or Stacy and I are always available. We do car seat checks every Wednesdays and once a month on Saturdays. And we are scheduling for those parents that can't make it. We do it outside of those times, you know, once in a while when necessary. But anytime you have a question, we'd be more than happy to answer your question or check out a car seat. Thank you.
Barbara, can
Yes.
we incorporate the car seat suggestions, certainly for the parents when they're going through the pre-registration with Lorraine? Because, you know, we still have many parents that come in, first-time parents specifically, that come in with the, you know, with the car seat sometimes still in the box, all the tags attached, nothing has been removed. Sometimes even they bring in the base because they just don't know what to do with it.
Right.
You know, they're not prepared.
Right. So hopefully we are seeing more and more of these parents coming in, but you're right. They should install the car seat before the, you know, expected date of delivery, so that they know how to use it, and also know that they can get it inspected with us. I think, Lorraine, you do tell them, don't you?
So yes, Anya, that is a conversation that I have with them, to make an appointment for their car seat safety check at about 36 weeks, and that they are to have the car, they themselves are to install the car seat, keep the owner's manual with it, then make the appointment and have the safety inspector take a look at it. So I can't speak to why some people still have it in a box.
I think sometimes what happens, we see that maybe more often with our NICU parents, where it's a surprise delivery. And, you know, they deliver at like 34 weeks and they just, you know, it just goes way, you know, like to the wayside, and then they don't know what to do with it maybe. You know, we see that too.
Maybe there's something we could do on the side special for the NICU parents who deliver in a situation like that, so that we can help them get set up with the car seat. So we'll talk about that with Barb and Stacy.
Yeah, we could do that, because there's plenty of time from the time the baby's admitted to the NICU till they discharge usually, right? So we could set something up where they could bring in the car seat, you know, they could install it and then bring the car in when they're coming to visit the baby, and we could check it out.
Yeah, thanks, Anya.
Yeah. And we did have, of at least one occasion that I remember, where the parent brought in that 4-in-1 where it weighed like 40 pounds, and this poor mom carried it from her room to the NICU for the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. A lot of these, so, you know, not everyone is getting a brand new car seat. Some of these are borrowed, and the important thing is to ask the parents if it was ever in an accident. Sometimes they don't know. Somebody, you know, it was a hand-me-down or somebody gave it to them and they have no idea. And it's important to tell them, if they don't know the history of the car seat, you know, maybe they should consider purchasing you know, another car seat.
Right. And in regards to accident, even dropping a car seat, you know, sometimes, you know, you know, I've had one parent say, oh, you know, the car seat fell, you know, it was on the bed and it fell into like the floor. So, you know, that's another.
So the thing to do with that would be to call the manufacturer because the manufacturer would be able to tell them whether they needed a new car seat or whether the car seat was okay. So I wouldn't necessarily, even in an accident, the recommendation is to have the parents call the manufacturer.
Got it.
Barb, thanks for pointing out where the safest position for the baby is in the car, because I find a lot of parents are asking that question.
Right. And they assume it's the side.
They
not
do.
the seat.
Yeah.
Believe me, I don't know how my kids ever survived.
Yeah, right.
It's so funny you say that. It's funny Barb says that because I honestly don't know how my two lived to full maturity because I did everything from safe sleep to cars. I did it all wrong.
Me too.
Yeah.
I did too.
It's
Me
true.
too.
Barb, thanks for that. So ladies, this concludes our MCH day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys signed on late, I'm actually going to run our patient comment PowerPoint again so that you can read all the wonderful things our patients say about you and the unit and all of the people that work up here. And keep doing everything you do every day for our patients and families. And I truly, truly appreciate you. Have a wonderful, wonderful, safe holiday. Stay healthy.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, are you still there?
Yep, Rosabelle, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Quick question about the COVID vaccine, because I got the email.
Yes.
And it's the only date available is for the 14th. That was yesterday.
So there was a glitch in the appointment. Go back in now. They apparently have fixed it. Lori just got an appointment for this Friday.
Yeah,
So,
I'm in it now and it is fixed. I was just gonna book one myself.
Okay, but because it says I have to be there for an hour. If I do it on the day that I'm working,
you can't.
Is that okay? I can go back up because I'm still at the hospital.
Rosabelle, you have to go to Phelps, so you can't do it while you're working. It'll take too long.
Oh, Phelps! I
Yep.
thought it's downstairs.
No.
Tracy.
Okay. All
Yes.
right.
It's Colleen. I have a question too. Somebody had mentioned that if you get the vaccine, you should take off the next day from work or do it at a time where you're not back the next day. Is that true?
It's possible because sometimes when people get vaccines, they don't feel so great. So ideally you should do it in the morning and then you'd know whether or not you were not going to feel well. Ideally, if you were off the next day, that would be the best. You guys should also coordinate with Mary so that everybody's not going on Monday, so that everybody's not feeling well on Tuesday. I think, because it's a new vaccine, they're not entirely sure what to expect in terms of, malaise or just general not feeling well. Some people have experienced that even with the flu shot.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Tracy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know on the media, listening to the media yesterday, they were saying that they are keeping everyone who gets the vaccine within the administration, where the vaccine is being administered for at least 15 minutes to make sure that they don't have an immediate reaction, and then they're keeping them a little longer before they go home. So might be prudent, if you are going to get a vaccine, to maybe have somebody with you just in case.
Just confirming, are we on a break right now? Because I can't tell if my volume's not working. No crap. I think my volume's not working.
Your volume's working. I thought it was over.
Oh, it's over. Okay, so I can leave now? Lori just
Yeah,
You can. Tracy was putting up these slides if anybody missed them in the beginning.
Okay.
Oh, so she just left them off. Okay.
Yes, to review if you wish to, but the show is over.
I can't even see the slides. It's so tiny, but that's fine. Okay. All right, everyone. Have a good rest of the day then.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, you too.
Thank you. All right, now I gotta go to this other thing. Oh, man. All right, let me try to do the evaluation. Let's see if I could get that done.